thank you for joining me tonight. Yeah, so today's stream, has me quite triggered. So basically we are back on Brittany Jones. I saw some posts about her. I want to show you guys a couple of posts I've already made or commented on about her. An email I sent to others about her, and yeah, honestly, I sent that to the tribal historian emeritus, Bill Deyo. I sent that to the chief, and I sent that to the tribal council center email. And I'm going to show you guys post that I saw today and was commenting on, because I'm like, I saw that she was in a debate today, and I was like, ask her about her fucking lies and shit, like on a bunch of the posts I saw, because I feel like from my perspective, this woman is kind of, seems to be, in my opinion, posting in support of Brittany Jones, but she claims that she is trying to just host this space for all candidates, so you can decide that for yourself. But yeah, so we'll look at all of that. We're gonna look at the conversation that Brittany Jones and I had. She decided to delete her fucking comment off of this lady's post, and then decided to fucking unblock me, to DM me, and then block me again like a little bitch. So we'll go over all of that, what we said to each other. I found a Reddit thread. The Reddit thread is just about general Oregon Democratic primaries and stuff, but she's mentioned there too. We'll go over that as well. As well as other things that have come up within the ebbs and flow of this. I feel so frazzled that I can't fully process and articulate everything, but this will involve some replays to make my point in response to some things, and also when it comes to her theoretical proof of being Native, I did some research related to that genealogy to show you guys why I'm still skeptical without knowing more information. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I hope, you know, y'all could understand the same as well. But yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead, roll my intro, and kind of try and get started with this shit show. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're having a good night and everything like that. And yeah, let's just get this rolling.
Descendants of one Seneca, Seneca Maca is the land of the Powhatan.
Okay, now I have some notes, so you know I'm gonna just go ahead and kind of ramble off on these notes in relation to everything, but so a lot of my notes are in relation to this next video that this video that we're watching now, that y'all may not have seen what it may be referring to yet, but except for this first statement I want to make that kind of applies to my last video real quick. I just want to say I don't think that showing up at a protest or Native events is what makes you Native, you know, and I feel like that's, you know, when you kind of pressure Brittany on what gives her Native experience, she uses showing up at other people's events, other cultures' ceremonies as a reason, and that's to me inappropriate. Expand indigeneity, etc. And you know, and this is okay, so and then this ties to the DNA thing, and to that, and to the fact that I don't think just knowing natives is what makes you natives, or being around natives is what makes you natives, or you know what I mean? But like, heritage is passed through your lineage, and this is how you know. So even if a Native community doesn't have like a clan system the way other Native communities have, you know, every Native community still kind of has, by discussing their lineage, they do the same thing as the point of a clan system. Meaning, with clan systems, the main reason that a lot of bigger tribes have clan systems is so you don't fucking intermarry too close and shit like that. And so you know to not marry into certain clans, because those would be your relatives, and that would be too close, and that would, right? And so tribes that don't have a theoretical clan system, they still do the same fucking thing by discussing lineage, right? And so that's still important. Whether or not a tribe has a clan system, the intent of it related to that part of it, as well as what culture you have, what specific community you come from, what language you would use, the dialect, the regional dialect, what specific tribes you're from, the ways, when it comes to all of these different aspects, and to me, it's just even down to what role you have in society, what role you would have in ceremony, what would be your family's heritage in terms of symbols and what represents you. All of that is passed through your lineage, through your ancestors. So to be connected to your native culture, in my opinion, you have to know your ancestors, in my opinion, to fully, specifically reconnect to your exact lineage, to your exact community, your exact culture. You do have to do that work, in my opinion. I believe a DNA GEDmatch DNA test, whether or not that confirms your DNA, is only step one of finding out, okay, where could I be from? The next step is the paperwork, the genealogy, finding out who your ancestors are, but also doing more work in that DNA, because far distant ancestry doesn't necessarily mean that you're mixed indigenous, and I'll go into that more in Two Shakes of a Lamb's Tail, but also GEDmatch analysis confirmation is not the same as reconnection. And when you have no native ancestors documented, because you need to know your lineage, and the far distant ancestry, if you do have that, that's its own lived experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you experience what other people who are actually racially mixed experience. And I think when you are white presenting native, there's nothing wrong if you have native ancestry, right? Identifying with what that ancestry is, as long as you're honest about it. If you're a descendant like me, if you're a descendant, if you're making it known and clear it's far distant ancestry, that you're not raised in the community, that you're not connected, that you or if you're not misrepresenting your reconnection journey, then there's nothing wrong with just being upfront, right? That's, like I've been saying, it's when you start lying, that's when I'm going to call you a liar about your identity and say, no, that's native identity fraud, right? And I believe using DNA to represent actual culturally connected natives is weaponizing blood quantum. And there is a big difference between processing in your space, on your social media, right, versus running for governor, running for office, taking media opportunities, taking funds, taking away representation from actual connected natives on things such as MMIW, which I can prove you spread misinformation on, even though you deny it. So, just some of the things that I have already processed that I had thought about there. But yeah, so let's just I'm gonna timestamp this up, try to process it all better and connect it as we go. So apologies if it's not necessarily connected for you. To me, it's all connected because I've been spiraling on it so long that I don't know if I'm doing the best job at articulating the relationship of everything, but just stay with me now and we'll get there eventually, I hope. But now let's get into some of what we're going to show you guys. So this is I'm going to show you, this is a email I sent to tribal historian Bill Deyo, to the chief, to I sent this to Bill Deyo, I sent this to the chief, I sent this to the tribal center and a few other people in relation to something. But basically, what I said to them, and I sent them the Brittany Jones playlist, and I said, I made a YouTube playlist about my research on Brittany Jones. I have also talked about the tribe, chief, and Bill here. If there is anything I said that you wish me to take down, or if you want a specific part of a video removed, even if the rest stays up, I am happy to remove or redo any video I have up at your discretion. This is what I sent to the chief, to Bill Deyo, and to the tribal center. Okay? Now, I've spoken to Bill Deyo, but everybody that may see that email may not know who the fuck I am. So I went ahead and I put a damn picture of my dad's family, and I put my family search ID so they can confirm for themselves my lineage if they'd like. Now, if I am ever told anything that I feel you guys need to know about, or anything at all, like, I mean, who knows if I'll get, I have not been told anything at this time related to that. If I do get told anything, I don't know if I'll tell you guys or not based on what it is, but if there ever is anything updated from that I feel like I can share, or if changes are made to the videos I have up because of them responding to me, then obviously I will update on that. But until that time, just assume that they have access and are aware, potentially if they read the email, of this playlist. And you know, so that's all you need to know. It's in the hands of the people who can tell me that I will, you know. Yep. So, if they don't tell me to take it down, I don't know if it's going to come down. I mean, if you look at my YouTube videos in general, though, my playlists in general, though, I end up unlisting my videos a lot anyway. Like, most of my videos are unlisted, so it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's whatever, like, eventually, like, you know, don't know, right? But, anyway, so, did I just exit out of that? Wait, I still need that tab. Dude, I'm out of it. Hold up. Okay, so. I'm in the wrong page. Okay. Sorry. Apologies, I got distracted because I was trying to pull back up what I wanted to show. And then I had accidentally clicked on the wrong folder, so I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I wanted. And then I realized, okay. Anyway, back again. So, now, we're going to get into this. So, with the Oregonians for Oregon Facebook page, I made a damn post, and it says, a Patawomeck descendant perspective on Oregon gubernatorial candidate Brittany Jones playlist, a full deep dive, and I linked to the damn playlist. Now, then this is the post that came across my feed that I was like, oh my god, really? And so then I looked at Kathleen's page, and I saw, to my experience, that she was just posting a lot of things, not only about this event, but also about, like, she posted Brittany's fundraiser too, and I was like, damn, really? But she was tagging Brittany as well in all of these flyers, where basically they're asking for a tax-deductible donation, and they are doing a gubernatorial debate, and she made a Facebook post. So on there, somebody had asked, will this be live streamed? And Brittany posted, I'm live streaming to my Facebook, but I believe Kate has plans to have it streamed as well. And Lanisha responded, one would think if this is to really benefit the state, everyone across the state should have access. Otherwise, it makes me wonder the true intention, but hopefully the organizers are on it. Sorry, I'm scrolling. My bad. I was trying to scroll down, then I kind of end up zooming in and out. Whatever. But then Brittany said she is perfectly okay with any of the candidates live streaming on their platforms. I know my audience isn't limited. Anyone would be able to view my live stream, yours if you choose, or any other candidate. Nah, because you keep blocking people, you dumb bitch. Anyway, plus whatever Kate sets up. And then Lanisha says, again, I hope they offer something to the entire state. I thought that was the point of this. I love her for that. But anyway, stand firm. And then Brittany responded, if you have concerns, reach out to Kate. She is very responsive. Just leave this bitch alone. You're the one commenting on her comment. Anyway, so then I responded. Let's see, do I have the whole thing? Here we go. Yeah. When will you stop lying about your Native identity? When will you be honest? A GEDmatch analysis 2023 doesn't make you Native or Patawamik or give you lived experience on being Native. You keep lying, and you even discredited MMIW movement, claiming that human trafficking is swept under rug outside of MMIW. Okay. Now, let's replay that moment. Hold on.
Human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug.
So y'all see where that was said right there, right? Okay, now we'll come back to that again. I'll play that again later. Fuck it. But anyway, and I said on Voices to Voices, which is against the whole point of the MMIW movement. You don't know what oh, so sorry. You don't know Patawamik. I barely know any of it either, but you know what? She doesn't. And that's part of reconnecting. And I said, you posted that Powhatan means Patawamik. That is not true. I've covered that before, but you know what? I'll pull that back up again too. Patawamik is a Powhatan tribe, not the definition of Powhatan. There are more Powhatan tribes than Patawamik. You said you were not raised white, but you were not raised connected to Patawamiks. You never been to Virginia, and you were raised by a white woman with only white ancestors documented, and you are a direct descendant of Nathaniel Bacon. You even claimed you were already reconnected in Will Fullwood's podcast, but you only have emailed Bill, no one else. You have done nothing else to do your genealogy, prove your ancestry, or reconnect if you do have the lineage with Patawamiks. You're lying about your connection status, misrepresenting Native identity, misrepresenting Native trauma, exploiting Native trauma for your political gain. Why are you taking interviews lying as if you have Native lived experience when you only experience life as a white woman? You are only European. And I said, stop lying about Patawamiks. You're not Patawamik. You're not Blackfoot. You're not Chickasaw. You're not Choctaw. You're a tribe hopper. Stop lying saying Patawamik support you. You do not have Patawamik support. You're harming us. But you know what? I can't speak for anybody. I was angry. Anyway, you are causing people to discredit Patawamik federal recognition, and you care more about calling yourself a Native than fighting for Patawamik federal recognition. You've never done anything to support Native communities. Stop inserting yourself into Native spaces. Stop your protest tourism. Stop exploiting Native trauma that doesn't impact you. You are a white supremacist. Yeah, that's the shit I've been telling her. And I posted in this event, but I don't think it got approved, but I put, can someone please ask Brittany Jones why does she continue to lie about her Native identity? I can't see this. And this is the event for the gubernatorial debate. And I said, I'm Patawamik descent. She lies about being connected to our community, but she has no Native ancestors documented. She is actively committed identity fraud. I put that shit out there. So Catherine here said that she'll make sure to share on a live stream link. I cannot speak, but I looked for one. I didn't see it yet. We'll try looking for it again at the end of this live stream. Yeah. And I sat there. I was like, Brittany Jones is a pretendian. She claims descent from my father's family, but she has no Native ancestors documented. Is what I put here. And then on another post about it, I said, ask Brittany for proof of who her ancestors are, proof she is connected, proof she knows Powhatan Algonquian, proof she has been to Virginia, proof she was raised connected to Patawomeck tribe, and let me know if she can show you any evidence of her being connected to Patawamiks that is not her, pan-indigenizing, knowing other natives, using other native cultures to call herself Native. She is lying about her connection to Patawomeck tribe, and she has no Native ancestors documented. She is European. So, she said, it's clear you haven't spoken to Bill. And mind you guys, I did speak to Bill about that. I told Bill. And, you know, it is true that I haven't done enough work to keep in touch with Bill. But what's also true is that generally, yeah, I have spoken to Bill before. So, I don't, oh, y'all can't see this comment. So, I don't know if she means ever. I don't know if she means about this or what. But he's got the access to the playlist. Anyway, says, I've never claimed, and I showed evidence of that, which happened before all of this. Anyway, I have never claimed to have the lived experience being Native. We're going to do a rundown of the evidence I have on that in 2 Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. In fact, if you had actually listened, you would hear me say I don't have that experience. Oh, and I'll show you all the time. She acts as if she does. So just because you go, you know, back and forth, but if you're still taking news interviews as if you do have that experience and you're not correcting it on the news outlet, if you just come back here and you say, oh, but you know, and you go back and forth without correcting it in the media, and you're still taking representation in the media, you're still lying in the media, you're still committing fraud in the media. You don't see the problem with that, and we'll show you the evidence on that in 2 Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. And she says, and okay, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to go ahead and watch that. So, right now is the time she acts as if she has lived experience being Indigenous. Here she calls herself a member of Native American community on KOIN. You know what? I'm just going to hit play on this for a little bit. We're going to watch it at 1.5 speed. This is not all of this segment. We're not going to watch all of this right now because ain't nobody got time for that. But we are watching about half of the reviewing statements Brittany made about being Native in one of her mom's albums on Ancestry segment of the Will Brittany Jones Take Accountability, Who is a Real Native, What Does It Mean to Be Community video. And that is video number 9 so far in my Brittany Jones series here. So I'm going to hit play right here for 2 Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. We're going to speed that up to 1.5 speed, and I'm going to try turning my captions on. Okay. So this article calls her a member of the Native American community. And I'm just going to let this part of this play, and then let's see if I can search the transcript yet. Oh, I can. Okay, great. So, I'm just going to play this little clip, and then we're going to skip through the transcript a little. And Mason McCarthy Party. A member of the LGBTQ and Native American communities, Jones also made an unaffiliated president in 2024. So here, this is false in terms of saying she's a member of Native American communities. She's not, okay, just getting your lineage confirmed that you're a descendant is not the same as being a member of the community. Being a descendant is not the same as being a member of the community. I'm not even qualified to say I'm a member of the community. That's a sacred role, and it's a journey that you're just beginning. You don't just say, oh, now I'm part of the community because I just found out who my 10th great-grandfather was a few years ago. Like, that's not the same. If you never met the members of your tribe, you never been to your tribal events, we're not raised in your ways, don't know your culture, don't know your language, you're...
Unseating a powerful incumbent is one of the hardest things to do in politics. However, my next guest is trying to do just that. Army Reserve veteran and progressive activist Brittany Jones is challenging Governor Tina Kotek in May's Democratic primary. A member of the LGBTQ and Native American communities.
And mind you guys, I just want to ramble about this, but getting your ancestry confirmed is not the same as necessarily being a part of the community. And it's okay for that to be where you're at. And so right here, do we need to replay that? Because they just introduced her as a member of the Native American community. But let's see if she corrects them. Let's see if she corrects them. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just do not agree with misrepresenting your proximity. Be honest. I'm at the beginning of my journey. There's nothing wrong with that. I won't judge you for being at the beginning of your journey too. I'm at the beginning of mine. There's nothing wrong with being at the beginning of your journey when it comes to connecting with the members of your tribe. I just hold heavily this because it's such a hard journey for me. That is why when I know what that journey is and I see someone else not doing that journey but using the identity for their political gain, I see that as a problem. Okay, let's keep watching.
Jones also made an unaffiliated run for president in 2024. Brittany Jones, welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you for having me here.
Getting a party nomination over an incumbent governor is a long shot, to say the least. So why are you running?
So when you watch the rest of that interview, she does not correct them on that, saying, oh, I'm just a descendant, I'm not connected to the community like that, right? And it's one thing for you to talk about in your personal life, like, hey, like, my community like that I feel connected to, right? Or that I know my personal community or my dad's community, right? Because whenever you look like my dad, you don't get to decide not to be Native because, you know, people don't look at him as, you know, it's funny because some racist people will call him white or African, but in general, he's not perceived as a white man in like real life from my experience, you know? So there are some people who they don't get to decide like what to identify as, right? And it's there. I just have this issue with her because it's like he doesn't get to decide, you know, like, oh, not to be a part of the community or to be a part of the community, whether or not he's recognized by others as one. He's going to be treated a certain way either way, right? And I thought that's all there is to being Native, but it's more of like whenever I know like for people who experience that, but whenever it's like you're actually someone who has mixed ancestry and a mixed parents, and you have parents who are truly, one is dark skinned and one is white, when you truly do have that experience and someone who does not have that experience is calling themselves mixed, it can be triggering because they don't understand what it's like. They don't understand the trauma and they're misrepresenting it, right? But let's keep going. So this is like, in this replay, I didn't do the best job of I was like looking for things in this replay and giving comment, and it's also replaying my commentary, but I'm gonna try to fast forward through some of that a little bit here. Okay.
Left, but just talk about how you feel about.
Not even really talk about her Native American background. You notice that she can't elaborate on any Native American background because she doesn't have a background to elaborate on. She does keep saying, I'm Native, I'm Native, I'm Native. And I just realized maybe this being a 1.5 speed is too fast, so I'm going to take it down to 1.25 and see if that's better. But yeah, I'm going to just try it again. You're mostly European. Why don't you identify as you're just European? Because that's what you mostly are. That's what you've been raised as. That's what, you know what I
In terms of land stewardship, you talked about your Native American background. We've got less than a minute left, but just talk about how you feel about.
I didn't really talk about her Native American background. You notice that she can't elaborate on any Native American background because she doesn't have a background to elaborate on. She does keep saying, I'm Native, I'm Native, I'm Native. I'm putting that out there.
Stewarding the land and also controlling the land.
So, we don't believe in owning the land when it comes to controlling it. And in terms of stewarding it, we don't believe in desecrating it. It's a sacred fucking place. We believe in taking care of it, and it takes care of us. Jesus Christ.
Control is a negative word for it because First Nations, we live with the land. We work with the land.
First Nations is a Canadian concept. It refers to First Nations can also apply to Australia and other Aboriginal places, but in the concept of America, I often think of it as Canada. But I get upset about that because it's a legal term that doesn't apply to any Native American in the United States legally, unless they're a First Nation member status as well, because some Native Americans, because, you know, we didn't have borders of America and Canada before, so there are some tribes who hold status in both places, right, that would have that qualification. But anyway, so that fucking bothers me. But notice here, she doesn't fucking correct him like, hey, I'm a descendant, like she told me she would. She speaks as if she has Native background, and she does not. Her mom didn't know she was Native. My dad always knew he was Native, and that's the biggest difference between us. Specifically to people in Canada, First Nations is not a broad Indigenous term. I just want to put that out there. So I don't know why she keeps referring to First Nations people. She has nothing to do with First Nations.
And that wouldn't be my call to make because my tribe's in Virginia, right? We have 9 federally recognized tribes in Oregon, and it should be their call on how the land is managed. We also have descendancy groups and tribes that had their federal recognition stripped away. And when you look at that, and if you can get their recognition back in Oregon, there's no process for state recognition for state recognized tribes, which would help.
And notice in this situation, she not only, this is another chance she could have corrected, hey, I'm not actually able to represent Native people, my ancestry's far back. But instead she tries to speak for Native people, and she doesn't even fucking know what the fuck First Nations is. Oh my god. Ugh, and then she wants to send me those fucking voice messages, bitch, fuck you. Anyway, she's thing about her, where she says her childhood was enriched by her, they're quoting her. So if this was not correct, then why is she allowing people to publish wrong information? So here, this is Voices for Voices podcast. In an article, they were saying that Brittany Jones's childhood was enriched by both her Indigenous heritage and Mexican culture. How would your childhood enriched by your Indigenous heritage when you didn't know of any Native ancestry until you did a GEDmatch DNA analysis in your mid-30s? That's why I say she's lying. She said I made this up. I did not make this up. Anyway, she said that in the, I covered it earlier. I don't want to keep rehashing everything. We'll be here even longer. But I covered that in the first messages to me when we had our first blowout little situation video. Information. Because she told me I just made it up. No, I didn't. Voices for Voices said that her childhood was enriched by her indigenous heritage and Mexican culture. And that she identifies as Patawamik, an indigenous group from Virginia, and that she describes growing up, participating in powwow ceremonies, cultural gathering, etc. So, if this was false, why isn't she having them correct the information instead of instead of giving me shit for calling it in this live stream? But her lineage is too far back to get enrolled, and she knows that. So I saw that as a blatant lie. Hold on, or at least that's something along the lines of my lineage does not qualify for enrollment. Let me rewind it back a little.
This is a tribe on the East Coast. I'm not enrolled. I always clarify that, so no counts for me. But I am connected to my family who are enrolled, and I communicate with them frequently.
And I already communicated. Knowing that who the tribal historian, she cannot tell me who she's communicating with. She just keeps mentioning Bill Deyo and DNA genealogy, but that's it. She cannot tell me any other person she's connected to, any other way she's connected to Patawamik people. Emeritus is, and talking to a tribal historian emeritus, yeah, he's a distant relative. Yes, I would never discount him being family, but at the same time, you can't make people think you're connected to a group of family when you've only established and maintained a positive connection with a single individual because of getting your lineage confirmed by that single individual. If you're not in community with the rest of the tribe, if they don't fucking know you, you can't fucking just say that because you know you talk to one fucking person. That's disrespectful, in my opinion. And it's the way she's like, yeah, I'm not enrolled, but I'm Patawamik and claimed by my community and all this stuff. It's like, I'm only claimed by certain community members. I can't just broadly claim all of the Patawomeck tribe knows me and claims me like that. I know my fucking dad is. But this is like, I already communicated, you know, my thoughts on that, so I don't want to, she doesn't understand, you know,
learning my tribal history, my family's history, and just, I need to go out there and visit and get the enrollment process started.
Right.
At the time of this interview, she's well aware that her... So here she's talking about getting her tribal history and her family history. How are you taking interviews talking about your tribal history? And you literally don't have any native lived experience, bitch. And then you're gonna say, oh, you were clear about you being far distant ancestry. Talking about your tribal history ain't that, bitch. Just too far back to get enrolled. So why is she saying I need to get the enrollment process started? That is an outright lie or misrepresentation of the truth because you already know you can't get enrolled. Why not just say my lineage is too far back to get enrolled? And the captioner is not working. I was saying it's a blatant misrepresentation of the truth to not be like, you know, to
So I'll use a mistake I made before, and then I'll go into other, because this is a community that I'm a part of.
Calling you out.
Yeah, this is a community that I'm a part of, and then I'll move into communities that I'm not a part of. So
Okay.
it's kind of a two-part answer. So being native and being a reconnecting native, I was involved as a child learning jingle dress dance and ceremony in the home, went to gatherings, and then...
So saying that you're being native, that you're a reconnected native, saying you're involved as a child learning jingle dress in news outlets. And then she told me in voice message after that she never said she had any indigenous heritage or was connected to indigenous heritage since childhood, but yet she said this in the fucking news interview. Bitch, wingapo na tapawa sa kiringkwan. I'm just over here bitching at this point. I am about, there's about, I think 9 or so more minutes left of this that I think might be more relevant to replay on this segment. And then I am going to replay from my last stream on this as well. But yeah, right now what I am doing is I had started reading her comment to me. Let's see. And so from there, I got to the point where she said that she never claimed to have lived experience being native. So right now, I have been replaying moments where she spoke, even though right now she's telling me she never claimed to have that. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. And we're just gonna keep going here, mind you guys. When you haven't done direct to reconnect, this is problematic. And you're talking about jingle dress dancing and having ceremony in the home and gatherings and stuff as if that makes you connected to being Indigenous. It does not when this is not your culture. What the fuck is wrong with you? And why is my captioner not working again? Okay, my captioner was not working, but basically I just repeated that while my captioner was not working. But yeah. About jingle dress dance, having ceremony at the home and going to gatherings. If you've never been to Virginia. So, yeah, Sakwelam Sakir Mata Aramoiskwa Ere Muchik. I don't know, man. Apakinsikit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyway, yeah. I don't know why I'm yelling at you. My bad. I'm just angry. What happened was, but yeah, I'm over here. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep bitching. You never connected with Powhatans. This is not an Indigenous experience. Why are you speaking on these related to being Indigenous? That does not make you Indigenous. I am just so confused why she keeps bringing this up then, and then acting like she didn't fucking do that.
That's not one of my.
Okay, jingle dress dancing, I don't know who the fuck taught her that. That's Anishinaabe. That's not growing up Indigenous. Partaking in another Indigenous culture does not mean you're raised with an Indigenous perspective, does not mean you were raised in your community or connected to your culture. If she danced or went to some ceremony at home in Oregon, if you didn't go to ceremony in Virginia, you are not raised with an Indigenous perspective. Engaging in other Indigenous people's community. If I go to a Chinese restaurant and I've been to Chinese New Year and my friend who is Chinese drew me a picture, does that then make me Chinese? No. So, like where she's using these things, trying to say she has proximity to an Indigenous experience is extremely fucked up and is outright. If it's intentional, it's a lie. If it's unintentional, then it shows she is so not in a place of her learning journey. This is why, if you're not connected, you do not need to speak on having an Indigenous identity because you do not understand what it is to have one when you don't have one. Like, this is so triggering and so fucked up for me to see, you know. I just, and who the fuck taught her jingle dress dance? What ceremony did she go to? Why did she never name these ceremonies or gatherings or the community she was with or the people she was with? Because if she actually named a community, then people would be able to ask around in that community about if she was there or not, right? Because when I tell you guys that I'm from Mississippi, that there are people in the Choctaw Reservation who did work with my dad, 3 Gates Construction, there are community members. Okay, I'll get this example all the time, but in here I'm giving an example about how knowing other Choctaws doesn't make me Choctaw. Okay. And I talked about how only 2% of Oregon population is native, so wouldn't one of them know her? But I skipped forward a little bit. I think I made one more point in here that I thought was worth watching. Let's see. Because she got her lineage, she found out she did her GEDmatch research 2021, but it wasn't confirmed by Bill until 2023, to my knowledge. But yeah, but she's, you know, let's see. I guess, did I not, alright, fuck it. Yeah, alright. Apologies. That's gonna be it for there. I thought I had more for that there, but I apparently did not. Okay, so, let's keep going. Now, with other examples of her claiming she has a native identity or speaking as if she has a native identity, we also have let's see, around the 5450 mark. Okay, I'm going for 5450, but it's making me start around 5439, so the first like 10 seconds might not be relevant. But yeah. So we're just going to look at some other places where, in my opinion, in this next live stream, she, in my opinion, spoke as if she had native lived experience instead of clarifying that she only had far distant ancestry and no cultural community connection.
The state's sanctuary status.
I fully support the sanctuary status. I think that people should be safe. We need to stop looking at them as numbers and statistics and remember that they are human beings. And as a mixed Indigenous person, these borders were not here before.
So here she's calling herself a mixed Indigenous person, but in my opinion, she does not have that perspective. Why? So, what does it mean to be racially mixed versus have ancestry? So, being racially mixed means generally having parents or recent ancestors from two or more distinct racial groups, often impacting social identity and appearance. While having ancestry refers more broadly to familial descent or heritage, which can be distant or not immediately apparent. Mixed race people identify with multiple backgrounds, whereas someone with diverse ancestry may identify with only one group or feel multi-generational mixed. Multi-generational mixed, distantly mixed would be applying, or someone with mixed heritage would apply. But there is a big difference in American society. Calling yourself a mixed person in today's society, under the constructs of racism that applies to mixed race or biracial or mixed race or triracial, etc., in our society, it does apply to people who actually experience oppression. And the reason that it matters is because when you check that box, you know, for certain resources and benefits, it's meant to help those who are disproportionately impacted by issues in society. And when you're a white woman taking resources away from people from a community you're not part of, I feel like that's not okay. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you're racially mixed, such as multiracial or biracial, that usually means you belong to two or more socially defined racial groups. It often describes individuals with parents or different races or recent diverse background. And race is a social construct, but it does matter if you're socially presenting, if you're white presenting, if you're socially perceived as white, then you do have to admit that racially that might be your phenotype whenever you have extremely far distant ancestry. You know, and I know people who are fucking enrolled that'll admit that. They'll be like, yeah, I'm white, so what? But I'm also native, right? You can have it both ways because being native is a culture, it's a way, it's a mindset. You can acknowledge how you're perceived in society, right? And no. But then there's having ancestry, the heritage, the descent, the lineage, ethnic origin, or roots. That's different. There's the difference between having a distant ancestry, being a descendian, being like, that's why I call myself a descendian, being a descendant, you know, multi-generational. Because this is, you know, it shows how when it comes to identity, up until this point in her life, she's only been perceived as a white woman. I guarantee you her license is going to say white on it. You know what I mean? So, key differences: proximity, visibility, social versus genetic. So, and also these arguments are rooted in eugenics. So even if you want to say, look, I'm arguing for eugenics, on a level, I do think upholding the concept of racism is eugenics, but on another level, I'm not trying to uphold it. I'm trying to say, under the construct of the society in which we live in, I think it's racist to act as if it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? When it has for this long, just to be like, well, I don't see color now, isn't gonna solve the fucking problem. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, but so typically, in my opinion, though, mixed often implies more recent or close connections, such as your parents or your grandparents, where this is going to be passed to you. While ancestry can cover all your past generations. Racially mixed individuals are usually perceived different by society. And mixed is often a social and self-identity, while ancestry is determined by genetic ancestry tests. But yeah, so, and I think it just does matter with representation, because when you don't have connection to multiple backgrounds like that, and you're trying to represent over people who do, I think you're misrepresenting and not allowing people who could accurately represent things to speak. So yeah. back to this video. My bad, I got distracted. So here, yet again, she was speaking as if she were an Indigenous person. In my opinion, no, she is not. So moving on, I have another one where it looks to me as if she's trying to represent herself as if she is an Indigenous woman, and I do not believe she is. And I want to show you guys starting at the 1 minute 22 second mark, but it's making me start at 1 minute 21:54 seconds. So the first few may not be relevant. Let's see.
Run for a state level office as part of a party so that I can get my foot in the door. And during the entirety of my campaign, like shortly before I started campaigning, I reconnected to my Indigenous heritage. I started that journey. And the more I reconnected through politics and learning how our community...
Oh, no. To my knowledge. So, she basically said shortly before her campaign, she reconnected. And then she was saying she reconnected through politics. Getting your lineage confirmed is part of an amazing journey, you know. I don't want to discredit what that is, but she never got her lineage confirmed. She just did like a DNA thing. But you know, say that were true, right? Like, I don't feel that's the same as being reconnected. Finding out, like, you know what I'm saying? If you don't even know, especially when you don't even know who your ancestors are, who you descend from, what your lineage is. In my opinion, I don't feel like that's the same as being connected. I don't think talking to one person, I'm burping, one person is the same as, oh, now I'm reconnected, it's done, I did that. It's like literally a journey that's just fucking beginning. And it's not being upfront and transparent, in my opinion. And how are you in one interview saying that you had this Indigenous childhood experience jingle dress dancing, but now you're saying you reconnected through your political experience? Those are two different statements, in my opinion. Let's look at one more. I'm going for 2:45:16. This is the closest I could get, so the first like 9 seconds is not relevant, maybe.
Side. There's another candidate. She's running for District 3, Jessica Salas. She's been out there. She's been tear gas. She's put traffic cones over the canisters. Like, she goes out there. I think she goes out there every Saturday.
Yes.
But just the community that's there on a daily basis is a good community. We do have an issue with our white allies suppressing the Indigenous voices, getting angry when we take up space, and we see that they co-opt our movements a lot.
This right here. She's speaking as if what do you mean we have an issue with our white allies, as if she's speaking from a native perspective or some shit. So again, she told me that she never claimed to have lived experience being native. Then why are you saying this in the interview? You know what I mean? When you don't have that lived experience. Do y'all see why this bitch got me fucked up? We did those replays. You know what I'm saying? Where she's talking about her native identity on the news and not clarifying that she's not culturally connected. She's taking up space as if she has lived experience on these issues when she does not, in my opinion. You know, that's just me. That's just me. And then she said, in fact, if you listen, you would hear me say, I don't have that experience. I have shown you guys not just these clips out of context, which even if she said, I don't have that experience, her saying what I took from those clips is still problematic, right? And if you want to watch the full context, I've reacted to the full context. I have it all posted. It's all up on my YouTube. She said, and I said MMIW gets swept under the rug. That's not what she said. Here's what she said.
Human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug.
She said human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug. Outside of means except for, excluding, not including. Okay, to my knowledge. If anybody else has a different understanding, let me know. I've been using it wrong my whole life then, I guess. And I've heard it wrong my whole life then, I guess. But she said human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug. And then she messaged me, said, and I said MMIW gets swept under the rug. You said the opposite right here. You said the opposite. Oh, you said it was blank. Was that whenever I forgot to switch screens? Because I totally did. So yes, you know, I know you're never minding yourself, but don't feel gaslit. You had a reason to call it out. I totally caught it. I was like, oh shit. Oopsie. Ah, fuck. I just muted myself. Wrong button. But y'all know what I'm saying? So let's replay that one more time. She said, and I said MMIW gets swept under the rug. That's what she said right here, she said, instead of taking accountability. Because what she actually said was...
human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug. But
you let me know if that's the same thing. I think it means the opposite things. She thinks it means the same things. We have different understandings of the English vernacular. You know what I'm saying? But you know, she said, you are causing harm and making a fool of myself. How am I making a fool of myself? And here's my thing. When it comes to Brittany, anytime I insult her, anytime I criticize her, I show you exactly why I'm mad, and then I say my response and reaction to it. Well, my problem with her right now is she will never tell me what her issues are with me. She can't give me direct quotes that are wrong. She can't show me examples of where I'm wrong. She just insults me for no reason. And that's where it's like, okay, just because your feelings are hurt doesn't mean you can be inaccurate. Because where have I made a fool of myself at? I've literally showed sources every step of the way for why I said what the fuck I said when I said it. And then she said, you are causing harm. Oh yeah, and I am not the only Native woman you have came after. What other Native woman did I go after? Are you talking about whenever I went after KB and Abuela because they were speaking about my sexual assault? Is that what you're speaking on? So you're going to claim to be an MMIW advocate but throw my sexual assault in my face? Because those are the only Native women I've gone after, are the ones who are saying that if I were nude at 19, then I deserve to be raped. So is that what you have a problem with, bitch? And you're throwing that in my face? Because if so, you can suck my fucking dick. You're a piece of fucking shit. You are a misogynistic, rapist, apologist, piece of shit, bitch, for saying that fucking shit. Because those are the only Native women I've ever gone after. And you can suck my fucking dick, bitch. But you know what I'm saying? Anyway, and you're not a Native woman. You have no lived experience being Native. Show me a Native woman that I'm going after right now. Anyway, she said, you should be ashamed of she thinks I should be ashamed of myself for calling her out for lying. But she's not ashamed for lying. That's wild to me. And she says, I don't know what clout you're chasing. How am I clout chasing? She doesn't think her running for governor off of Native identity is clout chasing using Native identity. But she thinks me calling her out for lying is clout chasing, which is hilarious because I've got more followers, if you want to be real, on Instagram and shit like that than her. And to be honest, I've had a business longer than her. I've done a lot more than her. I don't need a clout chase. I do just fine on my own. But anyway, she said, step back, learn to listen, and do better. That's hilarious because she's someone who won't step back, learn to listen, or do better from anyone. She has no lived experience on being Indigenous. And I'm someone who was actually raised as a mixed woman with a man who's actually dark-skinned, who's Native, who's always known he was Native. There was never a time in my life where I didn't know my dad was different than everybody else. Meanwhile, she did a GEDmatch DNA analysis in her mid-30s, and she wants to tell me to step back and learn to listen about being mixed, but she has no clue what it's like to be mixed. Bitch, fuck you. Anyway, she has no lived experience on these fucking issues. So, and you know what's interesting to me? This is the picture she sent to me. I already have, William Deyo's email is not only on his website, it's all over the internet. I also already have access to it too. So why are you blurring it out, right? Which is weird to me, because then we can verify if it's actually Bill Deyo sending it or not, right? So anyway, it says that Brittany said, does her GEDmatch also show a relation to you like mine did? And he said, hi Brittany, I ran your mother's DNA and chromosome painting, and she has the red Indian marking on chromosome 3 at 184 through 184.5M, which validates that she carries the DNA segment of Pocahontas and her sisters. Bill. Okay, so here we go. So I decided to look into this. I'm not a genealogist or anything like that, but here's what I decided we are looking at. So, what is a red Indian marking chromosome 3 at 184 through 185.M? Red Indian marking chromosome 3, 184 through 185.M. Says, based on my query, it appears there may be a misunderstanding or misinterpretation of terms. Do I need to go and break? I do not need to go and break. A search of scientific literature and genetic databases regarding red Indian, a term often considered archaic or offensive in modern genomics, and chromosome 3 at the 184 through 185 megabase region. Did I say 184, 185? It's 184 through 184.5. Megabase region did not return results related to human genetic marking or Native American ancestry. However, this phrase does frequently appear in literature related to insects. In modern genomics, the term Native American or specific tribal affiliations are used rather than red Indian. Read that again. In modern genomics, the term Native American or specific tribal affiliations are used rather than red Indian. This did not return results related to human genetic marking or Native American ancestry. Okay. Red Indian marking genealogy meaning. Red Indian marking. Red Indian is a historical and largely obsolete term for indigenous peoples of the Americas, often used in genealogical records to denote native ancestry, but it is considered offensive by many today. In a genealogical context, especially in regions like Virginia, the term red was sometimes used on official documents, birth certificates, censuses, to indicate a person was Native American or of mixed indigenous and African European ancestry. Historical designation was used by Europeans to distinguish Native Americans from the people of India. You would see red, red bone, or Indian to identify ancestry in historical records. Racial integrity laws, especially between 1920s and 40s, Walter Plecker's racial integrity laws forced many Native families to be reclassified in public records from Indian to mulatto, colored, or black, making genealogical research difficult. And they also had a Pocahontas exception where they labeled those bitches as white. And and then origin of red usage. It is believed that the designation did not come from skin color itself, but from the use of red ochre or red paint dye, which was used ceremonially by Native warriors. Then it says, note, the term red Indian or redskin is considered archaic and offensive in North America, with Native American, American Indian, or specific tribal names being preferred. Okay. So here we have chromosome 3 at 184 through 184.5M DNA meaning. So chromosome 3 at 184 through 184.5M DNA. This phrase refers to a specific base pair segment located near the end of the long arm of chromosome 3 in the human genome. Here's a breakdown. This is the largest human chromosome. Defines the coordinate range of the chromosome measured in base pairs, and the M stands for megabases, meaning the range from the start of the chromosome. This specific segment is in the 3q29 region, specifically often designated as 3q28 or 3q29 depending on the genome map, which is very close to the telomere, the end of the long arm. This specific region is known for being gene dense and functionally significant, often studied for its role in neurodevelopment conditions, including being the site of the 3q29 microdeletion syndrome and 3q29 microduplication syndrome. The results obtained for this query did not contain information about the specific genes or disease relevance within the range mentioned, but the mapping 3q29 is standard in human genomics. So when I saw this, I was confused because I was like, I thought this shit was going to tell me about your ancestry. The fuck you telling me about microdeletion for? What in the Gypsy Rose Blanchard is this shit? So here we go. So then I'm over here like, what is 3q29 region DNA chromosome 3 ancestry meaning? Because that's the region it said it was in, right? It says this is specific small section on the long arm of chromosome 3. The meaning of this region in this context of DNA and ancestry studies is generally not related to ancestral origin, but rather to a recurrent genetic disorder known as 3q29 deletion syndrome, which is associated with neurodevelopmental and psychiatric risks. So yeah, it says, while some ancestral ancestry companies might mention specific chromosomal regions, the 3q29 region is predominantly discussed in medical genetics literature related to microdeletion, microduplication syndromes. An extra copy of this same region causes 3q29 microduplication syndrome, which is rarer. And it goes on about that syndrome. And yeah. And it says, in summary, the 3q29 region is a medically significant locus on chromosome 3 rather than a marker of ancestry associated with a syndrome that impacts neurodevelopment and psychiatric health. Okay? So then I was like, well, you know what? This 3q29 region came from, when I Googled this, it said it was in the 3q29 location. So then I said, what does that mean, right? With ancestry. So that's where that search came from. So then I was like, okay, well, let's be more specific to the exact email that Brittany Jones showed from Bill Deyo, right? And I just got a notification that my OBS studio disconnected and reconnected. I do not know where I was when it disconnected, if I was somewhere. Apologies guys, I am experiencing delays, disconnection, and reconnection. Apparently there is heavy rain outside and I think that the weather is impacting my stream. What I'm going to do real quick is go on a quick break. The only thing I'm going to do on this break is just try and check, if I can, where I was when OBS disconnected so I can pick back up at the right spot, and then we're going to keep going. That might take me a few minutes to find the place, but I think I should be back in 5 minutes tops, if not before then. I'm just going to go find my place real quick. Apologies. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay, it probably would have been quicker if I had just taken it from the top, because really, I had just started showing you guys this one search result, and basically, so I was like, so my previous search was a search from the search before that, right? So then I decided to do one more new search to make sure I got this correct, because it was basically telling me that what I was looking at shouldn't be related to ancestry. And so I was like, okay, well, let me make sure that's correct. So then I was like, the email, it said chromosome 3 at 184 through 184.5M. Wrong button. So then I said, what's chromosome 3 at 184 through 184.5M ancestry meaning? And here is what we got from the search result. The chromosomal region on chromosome 3 at 184 through 184.5 MB, 3Q29, specifically around the 190 MB mark, is a highly complex region known for structural variations, including microdeletions and microduplications. Ancestry link. While many 3Q29 deletions are spontaneous, cases of familial inheritance passed from parent to child exist. Because the deletion or duplication can occur in individuals with no family history or be inherited in a way that shows variable expressivity, it is not typically a reliable marker for assigning broad, ancient population ancestry, but rather indicates a specific structural variation in your recent family history. And then it says, note, for precise ancestry mapping, for example, European versus East Asian versus African, genetic studies usually look at single nucleotide polymorphisms, SNPs, across the entire genome, not typically a 500 KB region at the end of chromosome 3, which is more relevant to clinical genetics or syndrome studies. Read that again. For precise ancestry mapping, genetic studies usually look at single nucleotide polymorphisms across the entire genome, not this shit, which is more relevant to clinical genetics syndrome studies. Okay? To my knowledge. Oh, I got the letter pulled up. Alrighty. So, y'all let that sit. I don't know what red Indian marking they're talking about. And to me, it's like when I'm telling you that DNA and you like blood quantum isn't how you can weaponize Native identity, but actually connecting to the community, the culture, and learning your history, learning your ancestors is how, and you respond with DNA. It pisses me off because it's like you don't even get the point. Plus, this email, from what I've researched, it's like that doesn't align with this. This birding does not align with ancestry, to my knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So, I was going to respond back to her, but she deleted her comment, and so this didn't post. But this was going to be my response. I said, so, you have no proof of who your Native ancestors are. I literally sent my whole playlist to Bill, Chief, and Patawomeck Tribe. I'm so angry I didn't type out right, but obviously I didn't send it to the whole fucking tribe, but I sent it to the tribal center. That's my bad. So this isn't clear, but whoopsie. Anyway, I was angry. I said, again, a GEDmatch DNA analysis is not proof you're a native. It is proof of a relationship, and shared DNA could come from shared colonial ancestry. You only have European ancestors documented in family search. What is your lineage? What proof do you have that you are native? Proof of common DNA when your European ancestors colonized mine is not proof you're a native. And, like I have been saying, even if that DNA analysis were true, it does not change nor negate how you lied so much in all the news outlets claiming a lived experience you do not have. You literally take no accountability for the misinformation you spread about Bill Deyo, Patawameks, and missing a murdered Indigenous woman. You cannot even pronounce Patawamek correctly. You are having news outlets say Patawamek wrong. You are pushing Indigenous erasure on Patawameks. Even if the DNA result, like I have been saying, were true, it is still true that you are lying about your connection. The screenshot you shared doesn't change that you lied about your connection status, lied about being raised Indigenous. How could you have been raised Indigenous if you just found out through this DNA test? Stop your lies. You think I need to do better by asking you not to lie, but you don't think you should stop lying. And then they had shared the fry bread fundraiser, and this is on, I believe, Catherine's post. And so I put, please do not support cultural appropriation. I spelled cultural wrong. I was so mad. And I spelled cultural right. I was just typing too hard. Cultural appropriation, racism, and pretendianism is what I put there. Here's the email I sent to Bill. And then, so Catherine, mind you guys, so she's been sharing, you know, Brittany, but she also shared the whoopsie. And then she has, like, been sharing all of these things about being an organizer for the Portland Grey Panthers. These videos are auto-playing, my bad. She has all of these things on her profile about being an organizer for the Portland Grey Panthers. And mind you guys, if somebody gotta be there is black lead, then I have no room to say anything about it. Because it's not my place to speak on that, on the community and how they choose to organize and everything. But if Grey Panthers is not black lead, I think it's weird that they call themselves a Grey Panther unless there's a reason I don't know about, because I'm like, are y'all just trying to co-opt or play off of or rip off of the Black Panther movement? Because what is that? But I don't know if I'm wrong for thinking that. I could be, but that, to be honest, is the first fucking thought I had when I saw this shit. But anyway, they are saying that they are gonna, and they have Brittany on the back, and they're calling her PGP endorsed, Portland Grey Panther PAC. So the organization that she organizes for is endorsing Brittany Jones, but she's telling me that she organized a candidate or debate, represents the entire political spectrum. It's not for me to take positions. And I understand that, but when you show someone a certain level of support and you're not just like, okay, they're at the debate but nothing else, it's like, well, I don't know. It kind of looks like you took a position to me, but I don't know if I'm wrong for saying that. But because I'm like, you know what, if you really feel that way, then I said, thank you for letting me know your stance. I appreciate you holding space so people can determine for themselves how they feel. I hope you don't mind me expressing myself as someone of Patawamek descent, how I feel about misrepresentation of Patawamek community. Thank you. Okay, so now we are all caught up here on new shit I've said publicly as well as privately to the Patawomeck Tribal members about Brittany Jones. Next up, we're going to look at Brittany's DMs to me. Yippee! Because she deleted her comment and then unblocked me from the different Facebook page that she had already blocked me on, because she didn't block me on Jones for Oregon. She had blocked me on this Brittany Jones page, and she unblocked me to DM me. So we're going to go all on about that. So no, we're gonna do this in ABC order. Sorry, I was thinking about which order to show this in, but we're gonna do it in ABC order. And we'll come back to we're gonna come back to these, so we're actually gonna skip this because she just sent me twice what she had sent me to on that original Facebook post, except for she also sent me this screenshot, but she had deleted this comment. She took a screenshot and deleted that comment before I saw it, but she said, "You are causing harm. I have never claimed any other tribe, so I am not a tribe hopper. You spreading these nasty lies is what causes the harm. I no longer consider you family. Be gone." But here's the thing: if you were actually Patawomeck descent, then you can't choose who's your family. You know what I mean? You're either family or you're not. That's anyway. But she said she's never claimed to be any of other tribe. Here is where she claimed to be Chickasaw, Choctaw, or Blackfoot. So yeah, she has claimed other tribes. That's why I call her a tribe hopper. You know what I'm saying? She says I'm lying about her. I've literally shown you guys proof for everything I've said. If anything I've said is a lie, let me know what it is so I can correct that misinformation. But to my knowledge, I have shown evidence for every statement that I've made. And I don't understand what harm I'm causing by asking you to stop lying when I can prove you showed the lies. So to me, I feel like she's using Darbo tactics. Deny, attack, reverse victim offender. She's using Darbo to try and act like she's not being problematic when she is, in my opinion. So, yeah. So, she sent me those screenshots. So the first one was only the email itself. The second one was the comment I did see and originally reviewed with you guys. The third one was the other comment I didn't see. And so we read all of that already. And then she said to me, "You are causing harm. You are harming me." I don't understand how asking you to stop lying is harming you, though. You could just stop lying. You know what I'm saying? She says, "You're harming work being done for the Native community." What work have I harmed being done? What work am I harming being done for Native community by asking you not to lie about MMIW? She thinks I'm harming work being done for the Native community, but she doesn't think saying shit like this is.
Human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug. But I did meet with a prison abolition.
So she doesn't think saying shit like that is harmful, but she thinks I am. Okay, interesting. But yeah. So she says, "You are causing harm to our tribe by your disgraceful behavior and baseless attacks." What disgraceful behavior? Me being mad and reacting to what I have evidence for is not disgraceful, and it's not a baseless attack. And I feel like that's not taking accountability for your actions. So she says, "I've never claimed to have lived Native experience. In fact, I claim the opposite. I already replayed that in this live stream. Check some examples of this, so check those timestamps, because we just saw the same damn shit, right?" She said, "In fact, I claim the opposite." Okay, so she basically is saying the same thing right here. And then she said, "And say the voices that have that lived experience need to be uplifted." But then you also said, and I showed you guys this clip already as well, you were speaking as if you were the community that was being silenced and how other people need to shut up so you can speak. I played that clip, right? Because you're speaking as if you're part of the Native community. No. So even if she did in another place, she's saying, "Oh, I don't have that lived experience." If she's not going to correct where she did say those things, if she's not having them issue correction, that's still having lies published. She says, "I don't know what clout you're chasing, but twisting what I say to fit your narrative is harmful." Okay, you don't have any clout, so how am I clout chasing? Are you saying, like, you have no clout to chase after? You're not popular. I don't understand this. Me discussing political candidates is not clout chasing. And I've never twisted what she says. In fact, I show you exactly what she says, and then I just have my extra commentary on it. I literally do not twist it. I show you exactly what it is as it is. So show me what I ever twisted that she said. How is giving a direct quote, word for word, what she said, twisting it? Because I'm saying it's not okay to disrespect MMIW the way you do. She said, "Leave me alone, stop causing harm." But yeah, she doesn't get to run for candidate as governor and then say leave me alone when you hold her accountable for her lies. That's fucking wild. What harm am I causing by asking you to not lie, not to take up space from people who have lived experience being Native? And she said, by the way, I never said MMIW swept under the rug. Fuck off. What I asked her, and I gave her that direct quote. I said, why did you say human trafficking outside of the MMIW awareness has been pushed under the rug? That's what I asked her. Why did she say that? She did say this. It doesn't want to load, but I tried to hit play. Let's try it again. I don't know if it's the signal or what, but it's not playing all of a sudden.
Only getting in front of the camera about ICE when it diverts attention away from the fees and the taxes.
So, okay, I don't know what started playing, but a different part started automatically playing just fine, but the part that I'm actually trying to play is not replaying. I'm going to try refreshing it. I don't know why it's starting back there all of a sudden.
This has kind of been pushed under the rug, but I did meet with the prison abolition.
It was muted.
Human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug, but I did meet.
Okay, so yeah, y'all got that. She did say that. Okay, and she said, I never claimed any other tribe either. Patawamik is only verified connection I have, and not your able to take that from me. Would your colonizer behavior do better? She's calling my dad. The way I act, my father taught me. So she believes that my father's behavior, because my behavior comes from my father. She believes he's a colonizer, but she doesn't think that she, who has no Native ancestors documented, and is a descendant of Nathaniel Bacon, is a European white woman whose mother never even knew she was Indigenous because she's only perceived as white. She doesn't think that her lying about Native identity is colonizer behavior, but she thinks someone who is who's taught by a dark-skinned man, who has a dark-skinned father, who's always known that my dad is Native, is colonizer behavior for asking her not to lie when I can prove she's been lying? Why not just take accountability? If she had just said, look, I can see why you're so triggered, and you know, I used the wrong terms in these media outlets, I'm gonna write to them and ask them to issue a correction instead of gaslighting me, I'd be like, you know what, cool. If she was like, yeah, I was in my learning journey, I used the wrong words, I wouldn't be so hard on her, right? If she were willing to do the work, to have these sources issue the corrections for all of the lies and harm she spread, if she issued a correction with Voices for Voices, etc., then I wouldn't be so, like, you know what I'm saying? But where she denies it, doubles down, and then keeps doing it, it's like, bitch, you've got, like, that is fucking wild. She's telling me that I'm colonizer behavior and to do better, when she has no lived experience being Native. She's saying that my father's behavior is colonizer behavior, but she doesn't think hers is. She truly is a piece of shit. She truly is racist. She truly is a white supremacist. A white woman saying that a dark-skinned man is teaching his daughter colonizer behavior is just a racist white supremacist piece of shit bitch. You're lying about your Native ancestry, because nothing else sets you apart or makes you worth voting for. So you have to make something up to make yourself feel like you're worth voting for, which is lying about Native ancestry, because there's not a single thing about you that would be worth voting for otherwise. That's why your entire fucking platform is built off of exploiting Natives. That's why you only use activism work for marketing for your fucking political campaigns, not just to go and support. So let's keep reading this white supremacist piece of shit, bitch of shit. She has no experience being Native. And I didn't even get to respond to all of that because she blocked me, and before I could even read all that, the new shit, and I got carried on into a new conversation. So I sent to her, and I already read to you guys this comment. I just copied and pasted it and sent it to her. So she had deleted her post, and her comment, and so I couldn't post my comment because she deleted hers, right? And I already read to you guys what I was gonna say, and I sent that to her. And I said, I see you unblocked me for this. Responses incoming. I didn't get to give all of my responses though. She said, I never said I was raised indigenous. Right here, she says, I was raised in the indigenous community until I was about 7. Right here, I was raised in the indigenous community until I was about 7. So she messaged me, I never said I was raised indigenous. Yes, she did. And I said, stop lying, tribe hopper. And she said, I unblocked you to show you the proof I am Patawomeck. You need to get off of whatever hate train you're on. I have looped built in. Your behavior is shameful. And me calling her out for her discrimination is not a hate train. And I hope Bill sees every single thing that I've posted. And the biggest difference between me and her is I want to get corrected. That's why I literally asked them. And I said, anything you want me to change, take down, redo, I'm happy to take that down, redo it. I already showed Bill. I already told Bill everything that I already sent. So what the fuck you mean? So you think that I'm shameful, but you don't think that anything you've done is shameful? It's fucking disturbing to me. She's literally throwing rape in my face. And she's not ashamed of that? Because what else could she mean by me going after Native women? Because the only Native women I've had issues with ever are literally women who threw my sexual assault in my face. And besides that, the altercations I've had with, I'm going to show you guys, are people discrediting Pocahontas. And I'm going to go on that conversation. But I don't see that as the same as what I was thinking of, where I've had full-on issues. I publish every issue I've had with people. And so if I don't know an issue exists between me and someone, then I couldn't have done anything to them. It's crazy to me because she can't even prove that she's ever told the truth. And I told her to stop lying. Okay, hold on. She said, I unblocked you to show you the proof that I'm Patawamik behavior is shameful. And I said, you literally didn't show proof. Prove who your native ancestors are. I'm waiting. And then I showed proof of where she said she was raised indigenous. And she said, I don't need to prove shit to you. And here's the thing. If you are running for governor as a Native person, yes, you do need to prove you're a Native. You cannot run as a Native woman to speak for Native people without proving you're a Native. You cannot represent Native issues without proving you're a Native. That is fucked up. That upholds pretendianism. So you can't prove you're Native? Then you don't need to run for governor using that identity. I'm willing to prove to anybody that wants me to what my genealogy is, because look right here. Okay, we got Mary Wanganoche right here. Let's view my relationship. Why isn't that working? Okay, so down here, take my dad's lineage, Carney lineage, all the way up here. We have Grace Meese, Mary Wanganoche. Why the fuck isn't that working? Okay, I know this just isn't working because I know Robert Richard Carney is my ancestor. I know this is my dad. It's not even showing that my dad is my relative, so this isn't working right now. But look, I can show you guys. If you take me to my dad, my dad's lineage, the Carney lineage, all the way up here. You can follow me to the Grace line, Grace Meese line. Take that to Wahongo Noche, okay? You know where it is from there if you're Patawomeck. I can show you guys my lineage. Every fucking Patawomeck and Powhatan I know is more than instantly. I'm like, how are you Powhatan? They fucking show me their goddamn lineage. I do the same. And I know that my friend Jules and my friends, other friends, they share each other's lineage. It's common. To me, I don't think I can expect to speak on my experience as a descendiant without proving I'm a descendiant. And I don't think that anybody should expect you to think that you're telling the truth if you can't prove it. I'm here to prove it. I can prove it. Why won't she prove it? So that's a step in my journey on my dad's side where I'm not connected yet. I am connected on my mom's side and have been. So sharing that you could be from a tribe and claiming a tribe that you could be from is tribe hopping by definition, man. I said tribe hopper, that is tribe hopping. And she said, saying I wasn't raised white isn't saying I was raised indigenous, dumbass. And she literally did say, I was raised in the indigenous community until I was about 7. She literally did say that. And I couldn't even counteract that comment because her pussy bitch ass blocked me because she can't handle the fucking truth. She did fucking say that. Anyway, she did say that. I said, claiming you could be from other tribes is tribe hopping. No, it's called researching. I said, you're a tribe hopper. I said, no, research isn't publishing false info, tribe hopper. And she said, working on actively reconnecting. If you're publishing that you could be from tribes without verification, that's not working on actively reconnecting, in my opinion. And I said, if you were working on actively reconnecting, you wouldn't give an interview saying you already connected. We already went over that. And she said, work I am still doing. Publishing what I found so far is not claiming that tribe affiliation, that is why, or etc. is in there. Which, that is not even in her genealogy that I found. But also, that's still tribe hopping. When you're claiming an identity you don't have, saying you could be from a community that you're not actually from, that's tribe hopping. When you're claiming multiple because you don't know which one you're from, that's tribe hopping. And she said, I am connected to the Patawomeck tribe on my mom's side. I said, who claims you? What members are you connected to? She says, Bill does, idiot. I said, who are your ancestors? What is your lineage? She said, I just sent you screenshots. I said, besides Bill, who else? That is not the same as being connected. That's not reconnection. That's part of lineage verification. Not the same. Who are you connected to in community? What is your lineage? Why isn't your lineage in family search? She said, bye, this is going to bite you in the ass. You are causing so much harm. You can fuck right off with your colonizer bullshit. I have told you who my ancestors are multiple times. So mind you guys, a white woman is calling a brown-skinned man who taught me how to be bullshit colonizer. But she doesn't think she's a racist piece of shit. She is. She really is. She really is a racist piece of shit. She really is. If she doesn't understand that racism comes with trauma, she's never experienced racism, and she's talking to somebody who is actually a descendant of someone who's actually Native. My father actually experiences racism. I have lived experience being exposed to these traumas that she does not have. And she's calling me a colonizer for correcting her on misidentifying, culturally appropriating other cultures, and spreading misinformation about Patawameks. Whew. And she said, I've told you my ancestors are multiple times through Ann Meese and William Redmond. And mind you guys, she doesn't tell me her lineage. She keeps saying she's Patawamik. She keeps saying Ann Meese, William Redmond. But you can pick. Those are just popular Patawamik distant relatives. Anybody could say they're from them. She doesn't ever prove her lineage or show me who her lineage. How is she a descendant? And so I have clicked through every single descendant of Ann Meese and William Redmond. Not a single one of them connect to her mother's family tree. This is her mother's ancestors, William Rolfe McNeil and Charlotte Imogene Wolfe. I clicked through every single one of these ancestors in a different live stream. Not a single Native American ancestor is documented. When I did the reverse on family search, I clicked through every single descendant of William Redmond, and I clicked through every single descendant of Ann Meese. Not a single one of her ancestors is documented in family search. And mind you guys, Ann Meese is Grace Meese's sister and Colonel Meese's daughter. With Mary Wahunga Noche. She says, you are lost in attacking the wrong person. I asking you to stop lying about your Native identity, because she does keep taking media representation where she's lying about her experience. That is not me attacking the wrong person. That's me asking her to stop lying, and I want her to take accountability, but she doesn't. And so I said, why did you lie saying you were going to get enrolled in Voices to Voices when at the time of that interview you already knew you don't qualify, and then enrollment office is closed for federal recognition? Why lie? How are they your ancestors? What is your lineage? Why can't you prove you're Patawamik if you are? Who are your ancestors? Why are you lying? Why don't you tell news interviews you just got a GEDmatch analysis done but haven't connected and have no lived experience being Native? Why are you lying and taking space as a Native woman when you have no lived experience being Native? That is a lie, and you know it regardless of the DNA GEDmatch. Stop running for political offices lying about Native identity, and I won't have a reason to discuss your lies anymore. Stop exploiting Native trauma to scam others, and I won't have a reason to cover you. Be honest that you are not connected to Patawamiks, that you have no lived experience being Native, and that you just found out 2023 through a GEDmatch analysis, but you don't know who your Native ancestors are or how you are Native, and then not have any of that heritage passed to you through your ancestry. So that is why you're culturally assimilated as and raised as a white woman, which is who you are. My next message couldn't send because this pussy ass bitch blocked me. I said I have the right to criticize political and public figures. You don't get to DM me for calling you out for your indigenous erasure and white supremacy, telling me to leave you alone. Like, bitch, you messaged me, not the other way around. I have the right to hold you accountable for your lies. Stop lying about Patawamiks and stop your Native identity fraud. A GEDmatch analysis doesn't mean now you have the lived experience of a Native woman when you are raised European and lying about it. So yeah, I hope Bill Deyo does say some shit to me. I would love to know his thoughts on my commentary. Love to know it. So yeah, we have gone over this. The Oregon gubernatorial debate was supposed to be tonight, hosted through the Portland Gray Panthers or some shit. But let's see if we can. I can't find any link on that. Like, I was trying to find it. I cannot find any link about that. I don't know why it keeps doing this, but it's supposed to be like the Urban League of Portland. I was looking for any kind of, and why does, I hate that Facebook keeps bringing up these chats too now. Because it used to not do that. If you got a new chat, it wouldn't just pop up on you. It would stay unless you clicked on it. I hate that it does that now. But anyway, fucking... And I hate that, like, when you were on a page, if you don't go back in time or whatever, it just, like, goes to homepage. Like, bitch, I pulled that up for a reason. Anyway, but, yeah, the university, I mean, the Urban League of Portland or whatever, is supposed to be, like, doing this gubernatorial debate with Brittany tonight. They were supposed to have live streamed it, they said, but I could find no live stream anywhere, no link anywhere. Like, the person that did the marketing, I don't think did a good job with the marketing, because they said there would be a live stream, but they didn't link it anywhere. And just people, it doesn't even look like many people were invited to this. Like, I don't even know if anyone's fucking going to it. But I couldn't find any link or anything related to this debate tonight, so, that they said they had, so... But apparently they've got live streams set up for a couple of days from now, so I don't know. But I was looking for evidence of that live stream and I couldn't find any of it. But yeah, so the last thing that I want to do before, and I'll end with just a recap, reading to you guys some of the description behind my prior coverage, just a recap of what we've read so far, I mean. But yeah, so I also had seen a Reddit thread that kind of mentions her a little bit, so I figured we just read that too for shits and giggles. Let's see. I do think though, but you know what? Before I do that, I'm gonna go get another drink and just give myself a quick break. So give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I'm gonna go on a break, and then when I come back, we are going to finish up with this Reddit thread. I'll give you guys a breakdown from this description of what I've covered previously related to Brittany Jones. And we'll end it after there. I feel like I'm too mad tonight to give you guys a proper recap, a proper coverage, a proper everything, but this is just for processing. I hope you guys understand. I'm gonna go on break real quick. I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I'm so sorry if that was too loud. I just lowered the volume. We were watching some videos earlier with like the volume so low that I forgot about that. I had raised it. And now I don't remember if I did the volume right previously, but whatever. I just lowered it. That's my bad. Okay, I'm for real taking a break now. been quite a triggering live stream for me. So I feel like I haven't fully articulated on all of my actual ideas behind a lot of the social concepts behind what we've been discussing and things of that nature, right? But what I can say is, you know, please check the rest of my playlist for more of like some of the videos I'm calmer, not all of them though, but more, shit, what's the right word, like detailed, a more expanded, clarified perspective that goes into more in-depth about my actual opinions on some of these issues. Not necessarily, there are videos that I've already done that I do speak from a place of anger, but you know, I think you can probably tell which ones I'm somewhat more or less chiller in. I'm always relatively passionate, but not necessarily ragey, right? I don't know. It depends. Some people think I'm always mad, though. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not even mad. And people be like, you're mad. I'm like, I'm not even fucking mad right now, but I'm about to be. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but so let's read this Reddit thread. I don't know if we'll get too much here, but I just saw it and I just felt like, you know, so someone posted, so many Dem candidates for governor. Hey, I need help. I've been looking through the Democratic candidates for Oregon governor and it's overwhelming. Any thoughts on who sticks out? And, you know, some people are commenting about Brittany, so we're going to read those, and I figure why not read the rest. So, context for the political landscape she's currently running in. Yeah. So, somebody posted a link to the election. I'm not going to read all this comment, but they talk about Fora Alexander, James Atkinson IV, Donnie Beckwith, David Beam, Cal Kishawe, Steve William Labley, I don't think I'm saying this shit right, Tristan Shepard, Miranda Wagler? I don't know. But yeah, all of them. Is that it? Oh, they put Brittany in the middle here. Okay, Brittany's right here. So here's what it says about Brittany. Brittany Jones is the founder and president of the Ravens Party, a nonprofit centered on Indigenous people that has been involved in lawsuits. I love the way they worded that. Sorry. Jones said a top priority as a practicing witch is to ensure the complete and clear separation of church and state. Jones ran for president in 2024. Jones had received about $500 in 2026 as of April 21st. But yeah. Now, so Brittany says that her nonprofit is for Indigenous people, and I see her sell fry bread, but I don't know what the fuck she does for Indigenous people with that. You know. So anyway, it says take your pick. Most seem to lack credibility or seriousness as far as putting together an actual campaign. If we're going off vibes though, Oregon totally deserves a witch as the governor? Not if she's a pretending, in my opinion. And I think even if the DNA, and mind you guys, okay, here's another point. I don't know if I've been clarifying, but hold on, let me clarify this point. Sidebar. Even if the DNA analysis from Bill is true, and I question it because of the way she sends it to me, and because of the fact that there are no Native ancestors documented in the family search, and because of the statements that we've seen or re-reviewed, for example, with the what she said was a match to Pocahontas. You Google it and it's about microdeletion, and it's like, okay, I don't know about that, but you know, like, so, and so it's because that is what I have to go off on, and she does not share her lineage, then you can see why it's hard for me to believe her, right? And she has no Native ancestors documented that I can find. So, like, yeah. But anyway, so even if the lineage verification did come out to be true, though, it would still be true that she did not find out, if it is true, till 2023. And ever since then, since we've been check the playlist, because I did not prep that, and I'm not pulling it up. I'm too fucking tired. Fuck it. But he said even since she's been running for president under a Native identity, running for governor under Native identity, taking media representation under Native identity, and she's since then only talked to Bill Deyo. And there's nothing wrong with struggling in the day-to-day life to where you don't feel like you can reach out and properly reconnect if, for example, you are a descendiant, but you cannot claim you've reconnected either if you haven't, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? And she does not disclose how she's connected. She doesn't disclose her lineage. And she doesn't disclose how she's Native. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of problems with everything about it. And because even if that's true, she still did go into the media and, in my opinion, misrepresent her connection to Native community, in my opinion. But yeah. And she says I twist her words, but I've always shown you guys what she says exactly as she said it. You don't have to like what I say. You could disagree with my commentary. My commentary may even be wrong. However, I do not believe it's possible for me to twist your words if I directly quoted you. If I directly showed exactly what you said. That's not twisting your words. That's just me having my own fucking opinion about it, which I'm allowed to have. But anyway, okay, back to, so yeah, I was like, that sidebar, because they're like, yeah, Oregon deserves this person as governor. I'm like, no the fuck you don't, do we? I don't know, but you know, that's how I got here, I guess. So yeah, they said added quotes to make it clear what was from the article and their comments. So someone else said, it blows my mind how many don't have a campaign finance account. It's not hard to set up and required if you're spending a certain amount of money. They said most of these most of these folks won't raise or spend enough to come close to the requirement threshold. They said, I know what that threshold is. If they're not spending even that much, then they're not seriously running. Someone said, what is the requirement? Not to toot my own horn, but I think I could raise $20K amongst people I know. Damn, well that's good. Save that for a rainy day, just in case. You never know. So how are people running for governor when next to nothing? And they said $750 according to Orstar. So these candidates without campaign finance accounts have raised less than $750. They said the threshold for reporting is $1,500. I'm not sure where Darson, I don't know, they're saying their username, got the $750 number from. They said, thanks. Either way, that's not enough to cover yard signs, so I wouldn't consider anyone. Yeah, actually it is, depending on how many order. But anyway, and what size. But anyway, so I wouldn't consider anyone without a campaign finance account to be serious. And it said certainly not in a statewide or even legislative race, maybe a small city council. Okay, and then they were going about the price. Okay. Said, yeah, no shit. Did you read those blurbs? Most of these people just want to say they tried to change things by running and would actually shit themselves if they won. Then they're going on about that damn threshold again. No one gives a fuck. I'm trying to read the rest of these comments. Okay. And someone else said, I'm so sick and tired of politics as usual. I'm so tired of politicians who say that we want to hear and lie, take money and make decisions for the wealthy. Frankly, I think we, the people, need to take this country back. And Kotek is a nightmare. Oh dear God, not more colonizer rhetoric. They get that from Brittany Jones. So it says, no way in hell I'm going to be fear-mongered into voting blue when blue hasn't done a goddamn thing. Oh Lord. It says, I can't even imagine any Republican being good as Tina Kotek and would vote for a better Democratic candidate if there is one available. None of these options are sounding like that so far. It says, it's not fear-mongering to say the consequences of not voting or voting for an irrelevant candidate is manifested in 2024 to the present day. Enough Democratic-inclined votes failed to show up in 2016 and 2024 when we are in the thick of the mess because of it. In the end, your vote is your choice, but look at the table and see what lays beneath. Sometimes the status quo is better than what lies beneath. So you'd rather vote for fascism. Got it. No one is scaring you into voting anything. That is literally real life, not fear-mongering. Reality. It says if you don't see it, they're complicit, almost all of them, and they've been playing the same game, then you really need to go to school. And they said, that's some real Reddit, I'm 14 and this is deep material. I could kind of see appreciate both points on this, to be honest, because on one level I often do say, you know, that Republicans and Democrats are the same bird, same wings of the same bird, you know, or different sides of the same wing. I don't know, like, what, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, yes, that's true with the overall structure of colonialism and upholding it, but what's also true is that when it comes to social issues and what day-to-day living laws and regulations could be determined for people, it kind of can matter with the stance of the person. So I can see, you know, both sides of that argument. But anyway, someone else said, man, Kotek sucks, but nightmare is such a dumb statement. No one would ever take you seriously. Because you know what? Like, I also always say, like, I can't stand Trump supporters. Anyway, someone says, can confirm Brittany Jones turned me into a newt? Says, you got better? Says, LOL the witch, that'd be awesome. Seriously though, it does seem like people just threw their hat in. Alexander is the only one that actually has a website and details about her platform. Brittany has a website too, it's just not a good one, in my opinion. It says it's an indicator of how bad it really is, so that so many felt like they have to throw their hat in this round. It says, JFC, what the fuck does JFC mean, dude? I honestly don't even know. Not one serious candidate, and in the current federal atmosphere, that is not what Oregon needs. Bro, why am I still learning new acronyms, whatever? I don't even know what the fuck this shit means. God damn it. Someone, I'm just gonna not know in a minute. Why can't I spell acronym right now? Okay, Jesus fucking Christ, that makes sense. It's because I don't care about Jesus. Who the fuck is Jesus? Anyway, I'm sorry. But, or am I? I don't know. So, I say that expression, no, but. Okay, so someone else said that's the problem with Democrats. Even when democracy itself is on the line, they still can't put up a serious, rational, competent leader. Instead, they believe that good vibes and not being the other guy ought to be enough to simply guarantee victory no matter what kind of clown they run. Of course, the Republicans are worse, that's not the point. Why the fuck do we only get these two options? Well, they said duck, but that's just quacky to me, so I'm gonna say fuck. Anyway. Someone else said, but Kotek is doing alright. As far as I know, I don't closely follow happenings in Salem. She's a shoo-in for re-election. Why would a serious Democrat try to beat her in the primary? They said ODOT is in full crisis. PERS is still a train wreck, and the state's criminal justice system is a bad joke, but you think that Kotek is doing alright. I guess you and I have different standards for leadership. Try New Orleans, and then you'll think Oregon's great. Anyway, it says, don't get me started on PERS. Honestly, I don't even know what the fuck this stands for. Okay, it's a public employee retirement system? Alright, anyway, good to know. Approximately 25% of our holdings are of unknown value because they are private equity. With private equity, you depend on the people who sold you the position to tell you how it performed. Said, let's spend millions on consultants, not accept or enact any of their recommendations, and lose billions in potential growth because of it. What a fucking joke. They said every year they rationalize their underperformance. High interest rates hurt us. Oh, low interest rates hurt us. No matter what the market does, we underperform. Some note said, don't get me wrong, Oregon has plenty of issues. I just don't see why a serious Democrat would try to primary Kotek. Sure, someone from the left can challenge her, as they should, but they aren't going to get much traction. I often lament that Oregon effectively has one-party rule. The Republicans stopped being serious a long time ago. I mean, in my perfect two-party system, we would have the centrist Democrats we have now opposed with left-wing Democratic Socialist Party. But now I'm just dreaming and or rambling. It says, the throwing your hat in a ring is fine, but only if there is no other person running, then it is pointless. Not sure if it is possible to tell when applying, though. They said, the expected cacophony of candidates when the incumbent is one of the least productive, least respected governors in the history of Oregon. Some note said, I mean the thrice bankrupt guy. Slogan, if it's good enough for the country, it's good enough for Oregon. Someone else said, no one other than Kotek, since the rest of them did not even bother to get themselves into the voters' pamphlet. Said so only people who pay for advertising. He said if you're running for office, particularly statewide office, and you do not bother to get into the voters pamphlet, you are simply not a serious candidate. I do not know if you have to pay to be in it or not, but no one is going to be elected governor without spending any money, and getting in the source that lets the voters know you exist should be right at the top of your priorities for spending, unless, again, you're not a serious candidate. I think you can collect signatures in lieu of paying a fee. Looks like for governor it's 500 signatures based on the second page of this document. Vote for the candidate who actually put in the effort, not the lazy fools who didn't bother to get into the voter guide. This is my first hurdle as well. If you can't do the first and easiest thing to connect to your campaign with voters, I'm not going to waste any time doing your campaign work for you and learning about it. Agreed. If you can't do the legwork to get into the voters pamphlet, how are we supposed to trust that you'll do the much more arduous work as governor? Honestly, I feel like having a blurb in the guide should be a requirement to even appear on the ballot. They said, gosh, I haven't even looked at my voters pamphlet. The GQP/MAGA, I guess they meant GOP, I don't know, nominee will be Drazen, and she'll have millions to spend on, so let's get behind who will beat her, and that's Governor Kotek. If we don't, look at what Donnie has done to the country. She's our last shield from him. Says it just sucks we don't have options. They said, yes, Kotek is absolutely a pinch my nose vote. I vote for a fiscally responsible Democrat or Republican who doesn't have their head in the clouds and dislike Trump. If there was an anti-Trump, pro-choice Republican, I'd vote for them in a heartbeat. I'm so sick of 30% plus of my check being stolen, and I see no benefit of that money being taken. Someone else said anti-Trump, yes. Killing babies, no. We're going to downvote that. They said, well, I don't believe abortions is killing babies. We're going to upvote this. So I am as pro-choice as it gets. I don't care when during the pregnancy or why someone wants an abortion. I think it's 100% up to the pregnant person to decide for themselves what they want to do. Again, if there was a Republican that was anti-Trump and pro-choice, I would vote for them. As I get older, I have become more and more anti-taxes. Maybe I wouldn't be anti-taxes if I saw some real-life benefit to giving away 30% of my paycheck. Someone else said illusion of choice is kind of America's thing. And then they said that's the problem with Democrats. Literally, their only selling point is that they aren't Republicans. That someone else said it doesn't mean they have more selling points than the competition. Second to last in a two-way race. Someone delete your shit. Okay. Next up, what has Kotek done to make living in Oregon affordable though? What has she done for the residents of Oregon to make this a place where families can thrive? I'm middle class and can't even afford to have a child because taxes are too high. Housing is unaffordable, and childcare is absolutely insane. Can't afford to have a child and send them to daycare so I can work and continue to have a roof over my head. But I also can't afford to stay home with the child, or we would be homeless within a matter of months if we are lucky. When Kotek wants to help the people of this state and start managing money correctly again, she can get my vote. I'm not voting again for someone who clearly cannot do this job. She's proven she can't do it, and I'm sick and tired of voting based on the lesser of two evils. To be honest, stealing 30% of my paycheck and then seeing no benefit doesn't seem like the lesser of two evils to me anymore. Then they said, doesn't matter what she has or hasn't done. Most Oregonians would kill their firstborn before voting for a Republican, even knowing that abortion will never be changed in Oregon. They said that's not an Oregon problem. It's a huge issue for everyone in a normal first world country. Maybe socialism would benefit you. Then they said that income taxes in Oregon are obscene. I'm an independent and agree that it's not easy to live in Oregon. Kotek has done everything but made it better. I can't say I'd vote for Drazen, but enough people are feeling the financial burden it will flip the state. So state flips will most likely lose OHP. People will die. They said, your point, look at the SNAP program. How many people lost benefits because of the ABAWD requirement? People are starving now. I'm not saying this is the best idea for the state, but Tina could have done better. The propaganda of Drazen will lure folks. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but whatever. It's stupid we are even having a debate over the lesser of two evils. They said people will die is the point. That shouldn't be something that is considered not a big deal. But after working healthcare during the pandemic, I am not surprised. There is no community in this country. No one cares about anyone else but themselves. The Republicans are not going to help those who are starving. They never have and never will. ABAWD is part of one big beautiful bill act that wasn't passed by Democrats in Oregon. Someone else said, I roll. Neither side cares. You're absolutely bonkers if you think anyone owes you anything. More people think that way after the pandemic than not. There needs to be a better candidate for all the needs, not one side over the other. Weird rant. And and they replied, I care, and anyone who earns an income should care. It's more expensive to have a population without health care and housing than it is to provide those things. There's been numerous studies on this. Even if you're heartless and only love money, you should still want a well-funded healthcare system. Also, the next time your house is on fire, I hope you tell the firefighters to go home and put it out yourself. Then they said, what are you even saying right now? Are you well? No one is arguing with you. What I am saying is the lack of a quality candidate will further the disparity we are feeling. People will romanticize a different candidate, and it will be even further detrimental to the Oregonians. They are absolutely unhinged for no reason. It's 11 a.m. So I think everyone agrees with the fact that there's never qualified candidates in any election. Unfortunately, it's the lesser of two evils. That's how it's been all my life, and it's not likely to change. My point is, anyone who thinks a Republican candidate will make things better economically and not worse than it already is ignorant of the Republican Party itself. Be that you or someone else. They said that definitely not the point of what I was saying. It's not a two-party system as much as everyone screams it. There is room for reform, but everyone will have to care together, which will never happen until the older generations move on. I don't think that is it, because the older generations teach the younger generations, etc. If it was about the old generations moving on, it would have been changed already, right? Because every generation thinks that about themselves. I think it's about decolonizing, but that's a different conversation. Anyway, they said it's insane to say I'm voting for the one who lies less because it's better than the cult guy. Thoughts like that limit growth. As much as I hate it, the state will more than likely flip. It's hard to support Tina, and most would just not vote. I'm fearful for what will happen, but I'm conscious it's outside of my circle of control. They said that's why I'm all for RCV. It's something, at least. Americans have been vocal about the incompetencies of a two-party system since its founding. Now Trump is trying to appeal RCV in Alaska. When I was younger, I was more optimistic that the system would change, but now it seems when we take 2 steps forward and we take a massive leap back. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, they said New Mexico is doing childcare for all. Why can't Oregon use its money responsibly to benefit current residents and the future generation of residents? Sure, socialism is great if it would actually fucking happen. The problem is that it hasn't, and it isn't. Tina Kotek has shown she doesn't care about families in Oregon, and I doubt that's going to change the time around. Some notes put, Drazen will win, Kotek is a train wreck. And they said, just by not being a witch or a street shaman, you are ahead of the curve. They said, I'm not excited about it, but I went with Kotek. Hard to find information about the others, and if they don't care enough to submit information for the pamphlet, I question how committed they are. Additionally, I think Kotek has the best chance of beating any Republicans. Okay, some notes said, is it possible that Kotek will lose this primary? Somebody replied, none of the other candidates were in the voter pamphlet, so I doubt she has anything to worry about. Not many are going to search for the information even if they don't like Kotek. More likely that they just don't vote for that race. Someone said no. They said no, there's no chance she's going to lose the general. There's also no chance she's going to lose the general election. They said, I'm personally super skeptical of her winning against the Republicans. Why are you so confident that there is no chance she will lose? He said, because this year is going to see the highest turnout in history to vote against Republicans. Someone put, it's the Trump midterms. Anti-Trump fervor will absolutely drive Democratic and Democratic-leaning voters to the ballot box. It's the same scenario that doomed Newt Bueller in 2018. They said, I don't know. Newt wasn't really, from what I can tell anyways, much of a MAGA head. He was a Rockefeller type, which was already losing ground over Republicans in 2018, and 2018 was also a special election. I think that was their point. Anyway, they said, yeah, he sold out for a bit, but after the raid on J6, he went to being a nonpartisan, and I don't really think he ever bought into MAGA to begin with. I think he sold out to try to win D2, but when it became clear he was a Rockefeller type, that sank his ship for D2 in favor of Vince. And then they said, because this is Oregon, and there's just no chance a Republican can win in Oregon, especially in the current political climate. Someone else said, I get that there is some serious support of the left in Oregon, but I wouldn't call it a landslide. I see way more signs for white ringers, and I'm in a left-wing area, and I also see a lot of disapproval of Kotek. I'm just skeptical. They said that makes perfect sense, though. The GOP presently has a competitive primary going on. The Democratic Party and Kotek haven't even slightly started serious campaigning. That will ramp up after the primaries. And someone responded, because no one in the Portland Metro or Salem would support a MAGA asshot. I think they're being sarcastic, but I can't say for sure. They said, you really don't know Salem. My idiot MAGA neighbors will absolutely support a MAGA hat. They said most of Oregon outside of metros are right-wing Trumpers just for the heck of it. And someone said, maybe not in Portland, but there are people in Salem who would, unfortunately. And they said, I'd say definitely possible. She mostly ran on fixing the homeless issue. I haven't seen any change. They said, the primary, not a chance. Someone responded, also no chance she's going to lose the general election to a Republican. They said she did help with that quite a bit, but the effects could be hard to see. While there was a lot of money that went to eviction prevention and homelessness services, while you might not have felt it, there are thousands of people still living in their homes because of stuff she's done. That's the hard thing about prevention. You can't reliably show data on what would have happened without it. She's also focused on housing production, which takes years. Oregon has historically underproduced housing, so it's not only about producing more, it's producing enough to account for the historic underproduction. This map is a result of the work she's responsible for. I'm not looking at that. Identifying state lands for more development of housing. All of this takes at least 2 decades and lots of money. You know what? But I will pull that up to link later. Okay, I'll link it. It'll probably get moved to the comments, but I'll throw it either description and comments somewhere. Okay. All of this takes at least 2 decades and lots of money. Additionally, the legislature took the funding away for most recent session for eviction prevention, and Kotek isn't an authoritarian who can force the legislator to do what she wants. So this is what I was speaking about previously, where a lot of Brittany's answers about budget, she seems, in my opinion, to think she's going to be able to just come in and do whatever the fuck she wants. But I don't think it's going to work that way, and this example highlights part of why. And they said she wanted money for housing, but she didn't get it. Yeah, it says we need to stop acting like Democrats need to completely solve issues in their short terms in office and start doing the hard work of looking for the foundations and incremental progress they're making. The best Democratic policies will only work if several governors and legislators have enough long-term vision to keep something going. But voters are fickle and want change fast. Then they eventually take the new person they voted in, promising change, and say you didn't do it fast enough, and vote another party into power, which destroys the foundations made because government waste, and the cycle starts all over again. It's a thank you for a rational viewpoint. Very refreshing. I don't understand how people think Kotex can fix all the problems in Oregon when so many of them are related to Measure 5. Guess people have forgotten all about Measure 5 or never even knew about it. Some notes said there's zero chance. Losing would require a serious primary challenger. All her opponents are fringe candidates at best, and no single fringe candidate has coalesced nearly enough support. You will see 5 fringe candidates grab like 2% each. And they said, but that is more of a county and city issue than statewide. I wish you would have kicked out data centers and done something about the education here. I know a lot of the state senators are to blame for that too. It's why mine in District 15 gets primaried out. Someone said, well, I remembered it was about $1,000, and Orstar is reporting that it's $750 at this point. Like, if you can't put $750 towards a campaign for governor. And he said, yeah, Tina Kotek, there's no one else serious running, and she's been a pretty good governor, even though people love to find reasons to hate on her. Someone else said, I'm a pretty conservative Republican, but I agree. I think Kotek has actually done a pretty decent job and seems to get a lot more hate than deserved. I have major problems with HB 253991, but other than that, she honestly hasn't been as bad as people seem to make her sound. Someone said, what has Kotek done well as governor? Someone else said, not fuck things up, which is harder to do than it sounds. The executive branch is largely about logistics and just making sure money gets to where it needs to, and helping make sure the services the state is supposed to provide are provided. She does that fairly well. Fixing homelessness is hard. She's trying there. Jobs are trying to improve because Portland is an agricultural state with a major port that is hard to access. The Columbia entrance is not inviting. Plus, right now, they ain't got access to fuel, and they can't do a lot of the farming without it, and other reasons. Anyway, says balancing progressive policies against the reality of the rest of the country is a delicate balance. If we increase state services to help the poor or do things like paid leave, Oregon, you increase taxes and corporate taxes, which disincentivizes businesses to move here because we're competing against states racing to the bottom. She's and her administration have dealt with the Trump administration very well. We're dealing with declining revenue because revenue sources have shifted. Like electric cars don't pay gas taxes, which pay for roads, and my car gets 50 miles a gallon, so things need to be refigured out. She's not afraid to face things like that. Old PRS pensions are dragging the state down and weren't her fault. There is one thing that is bad at that COTEC and no one who is running is talking about much: fixing the education system. Our students are way behind and no one has figured out what's wrong. Education is local, though. The governor doesn't direct schooling, but can influence it, hopefully encouraging stuff that works. I think they're researching the Mississippi model. They had first put Alabama, then crossed that out, of teaching reading. Hooked on phonics turned out, it says FI work. I don't know, turned out to work really well. I don't know, and we'll be trying to get it in soon. But yeah, someone said, I know some people in education and asked them about it, and some have mentioned that we were using an outdated system, and through various teacher conferences, there are efforts being made to shift education tactics in Oregon. Whether or not it will be fast or effective is unbeknownst to me. And someone replied to the not fuck things up comment. They said, that sounds like we have different standards then. Not fuck things up should be the floor, not the ceiling. And related to the executive branch being about logistics and her doing that well, someone said, I would definitely contest that COTEC has done well here. Item number 1, ODOT funding. ODOT is obviously that's probably Oregon Department of Transportation, is still pushing destructive freeway expansion projects that we can't even afford. COTEC should have flexed the state proportion of those projects to operations, maintenance, transit, similar to what Shapiro did in Pennsylvania. 2. The state unemployment system still hasn't substantially improved despite the multiple scandals. There is still too much bureaucracy. 3. Oregon still has an underperforming education system. Not only has COTEC failed to address that, she tried to repeal PFA until the backlash forced her to retract that position. 4. Action on the public defender shortage is moving too slowly. COTEC should be working closely with Dan Rayfield to get public defenders where they are most needed quickly. 5. Oregon's foster care system is still beset with scandals, and the well-being of children stuck in that system continues to be an afterthought. If we increase state services to help the poor or do things like paid leave Oregon, you increase taxes and corporate taxes, comment reply. He said again, we have different standards by the sounds of it. Paid leave Oregon is one of the best things the state has done in recent years. You are unintentionally making the case for COTEC based on what she helped pass while in the state legislature. This also really punches the point that COTEC was significantly more effective prior to being governor. When it says she and her administration have dealt with the Trump administration very well. It says, I don't think COTEC should get credit for Rayfield challenging the regime and winning a bunch of lawsuits. They said she's not afraid to face things. They said, but she's either too politically weak or too incompetent to actually do anything. The fumble on transportation funding in 2025 was pretty spectacular. In response to the bad thing fixing education system, they said one of the reasons that I really want a competitive primary. Instead, we have a bunch of minor candidates who don't seem serious. They said, finally, a comment I can get behind. This is why I was hoping for more serious candidates and very disappointed when I opened my voter's guide. It says, how has she been pretty good to you? Someone said, well, the trans people I know are safe in this state because we do not have a Republican governor. That's a pretty big deal. Women have access to health care, and while the governor can't take that away all on their own, they could direct agencies to make it more difficult. She's also one of the top governors in the country on housing. A lot of their work there won't bear fruit for years, well after she's out of office, even with a second term. That's real leadership. And someone said, housing, you serious? They replied, HB 2138 on its own is good stuff, let alone many of the other things over the years. So yeah, most people probably don't know what's in the bill. It won't produce results overnight. I went to Salem to give testimony at the House Legislative Committee that it went through. I'm also starting to see some results from the Housing Accountability and Production Office here in Central Oregon. I love how they did not explain it though. Anyway, so thanks for your input. Much appreciated to hear from people who are actually informed. Someone else said, HB 2138 is fantastic. Thank you. For people that don't know, that's why I said thank you, because I was reading this. It expands middle housing. Zoning created a weird system where we'd get large single-family homes or tiny apartments without anything in between. There was a missing middle of houses like townhomes and duplexes that will hopefully start to correct. When everyone talks about cutting housing red tape, HB 2138 is what they mean. I also like HB 4128, which bans private equity or other large investment companies from buying single-family homes unless they have been listed for 90 days. Also, if the price of the home drops, the 90 days resets. And then it says, my power and water bills don't agree with you. About Tina being good. Someone said, I just wish for her to be more vocal against Trump and his efforts. Affordable housing is important, but it's definitely not the only hurdle in solving homelessness. Being on the coast, it's hard to feel like she has had a positive impact. We never hear her or see anything about her. Someone said, I wanted her to be more vocal against Trump too, but I have come around to her approach, which seems to be staying out of his crosshairs but still fighting quietly. Rayfield has done a great job of fighting him in court, which is his job, and Kotek has largely kept the federal dollars coming back home. Personally, I don't want her making us more of a target. And someone else said, and then they also said, and I'm not being snarky, but what have you done to seek out information on Kotek? She can't control what the media covers, but she regularly talks to constituents on her social media channels. She is all over the state talking to people and local officials. I encourage you to follow her on whatever social media you have. I follow her on Facebook, but I know she's also on Instagram. And someone else said his dementia is so bad at this point that he probably doesn't even know what an organ is unless his aides remind him. And unlike, say, Newsom or Pritzker, she's not running for president, so doesn't have that need to go for lots of publicity. I listened to local radio. I actually subscribed for a while to the Statesman Journal, hoping that being out of Salem would have had more local politics into. And I am subscribed to her email updates, follow her on Blue Sky, and follow other leaders there. I have also seen Val Boyle like 4 times in the last year. Even got to talk to her for like 15 minutes in Newport. She flew out special for a protest there. I drove up from Florence. Even came to Florence and I got to meet him. These guys fly from DC to do these town halls, and I've never heard of Kotek being close enough to drive to. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm part of the Democratic club in town, and nothing mentioned about her either. I agree she isn't a bad governor, and I do see her strategy of keeping her head down and letting AG do the fighting in court. I guess my personal preference and desire is to see our leadership more outraged. I get the feeling she is still a corporate Democrat and would love to see her exercise more liberal ideals. I moved from Idaho 6 years ago, so I don't take her for granted. Someone linked to a tour she did, and some other tour, her first year and last year, and they said, the only governors that are really visible about it are the governors that are running for president. Unlike Newsom or Pritzker, Kotek is just focused on running her state. They said she hasn't made any attempts to make it affordable to live and raise a family in this state. Housing is unaffordable, taxes are astronomical, and childcare is more than a mortgage at this point. She's not getting my vote. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. When I start seeing the benefit of 30% of my paycheck being taken, I'll start voting for her again. Until then, I'll vote for someone who I know will lose because I can't in good conscience vote for someone who has proven she can't do this job. They said, so this is flat out wrong. She has done a lot of work to get more housing built. It is true that housing does not get built overnight, and there are cities that are resisting the state level efforts to get more built, but where it's happening, it has real effects. Rents have flattened and been because of a surge of new rental housing, supplies and demand. Who would have thought? They said, how much money was mismanaged from 2021 to now? Housing will forever be the problem because every single nonprofit ever established will apply for a grant and not have the proper infrastructure to make things happen. So those funds end up nowhere. Follow the money Kotek is going to lose because of it. What about for homeowners? Our property taxes continue to rise on top of everything else rising. I'm sick of being shafted because my husband and I got lucky at the end of COVID and were able to purchase a home. I'm sick of being middle class and being too rich to get any help, but not rich enough to live comfortably. Somehow I'm penalized and expected to help everyone else because I have a good paying job and bought a house. I work hard for what I have and I'm sick of having my money stolen from me and I see no benefit. Also making sure Making more rental units doesn't make it cheaper to raise a family. Child care still starts at $2,000 a month for full-time care. Someone said property tax system is busted. It favors people who stay in their homes for longer. If homes are assessed at their real value, the property tax rate could go down. Someone else said measures 5 and 10 cap property tax increases so they don't track the price of housing. Building more housing supply makes housing cheaper. A lot more things are connected to that than you think. Childcare is a low margin business and you can't hire people to do it if housing is super expensive. Someone else said maybe the state should figure out how to subsidize childcare and make it affordable or free for all. New Mexico is doing it, why can't we? Maybe our leaders should manage our money better and use it for something that will benefit current Oregonians and future generations of Oregonians. A vote for Kotek feels like I'm voting to get shot instead of stabbed. Either way, I die, so I might as well just let whichever one happens happen. I'm letting Jesus take the wheel, as they say. The rest of Oregon can decide to vote whoever they want, but I won't be voting for my own destruction. And they said, you got yours. You even own a house, something many here can't afford, but you can't be bothered to vote for someone that will protect the rights of LGBTQ plus people and women's health care and everything else. Gross. And they said, I'm part of the LGBTQIA plus community and I'm as pro-choice as it gets. But yeah, I'm not too fond of shooting myself in the foot financially and making my life harder and making the life of other Oregonians harder. Sorry that wanting to have a family and it being too fucking expensive in this state to do that is such a taboo topic. And then they said, in my opinion, Kotek, until next time at least, to make sure Democrats win. Voting for that is possibly a vote allowing red to have a choice. Someone else said, sensible answer. There's nothing particularly exciting about her, but for the next 2 years, the most important part is keeping MAGA out of the governor's office. Someone else said, I'm old enough to remember when people voted for the exciting orange man instead of the competent but kind of boring woman, and it has not turned out well. Someone else said, thankfully the statewide GOP ticket this year is only shaping up to be crazy, not exciting. They said, bank on that being boomerism. He's their messiah, star of the 80s or whatever, cult of personality. You get it. If HRC had split with Slick Willie post Soggy Cigar, she might have rode the feminist movement and taken it. And someone else put, in a primary. Way to short yourself. If you're going to vote Democrat versus Republican anyway, at least get some party input. It's coming down to 2 people anyway. And they responded, someone else said, there will never be a next time. Kotek will reappear in another form and again the time after that. In every single election you will say to yourself, I don't really like this person, but have to make sure my party wins, so I'm going to vote for them no matter what. In every single election, the candidates get worse and worse. Democracy truly is a race to the bottom. Someone said only one person bothered to submit a statement describing their candidacy in the voter's guide. I can't speak. They said the one who is actually capable of winning the general election, Tina Kotek. You don't have to love her, but she's the only serious Democratic candidate. Someone said, makes me wish I registered Republican for the primary so I could at least have fun with the MAGA ballot. This is just depressing, and why both the left and the right laugh at Democrats. They said, I mean, why would a competitive Democrat choose this election cycle to throw their name in for governor? You need to primary a sitting governor and win. There isn't the groundswell for that. Even if you did, you'd be damaged goods by the time you got to the general because of the lack of groundswell, so you very much well lose. It says none of them Democratic candidates except Kotek are the real deal. It's actually insulting that people like that fake rabbi are wasting the it says polities? Never heard that one. Polities time with a vanity campaign. Kotek sucks, but I'll vote blue no matter who, and that means Kotek. Someone else said incumbent. They said Brittany Jones was a squatter too, and linked to that. They said the only one who's remotely qualified is Tina Kotek. Someone else said, I need to read up more on the other candidates. I hope and pray it's not Kotek who gets the nomination. I can't in good conscience vote for her. She has failed the families of Oregon. It's unaffordable to live and raise a family here, and she's done nothing to fix the problem. They said she's going to get like 80% of the primary vote. There's not one serious candidate running against her in the primary. There's a reason Kotek is the only Democratic candidate in the voter's guide. They said, okay, cool, she's not getting my vote. I'm not going to vote for my taxes to increase and for me to continue getting shafted as a middle-class Oregonian. Why would I vote against my own interests? I don't think she's the lesser of 2 evils. I think she's the other side of the same coin. The rest of Oregon can decide who they want, but I'm not going to dig my own grave. Someone else said, Tina, unless you want to be blamed for Governor Dreisen. Remember when all the third-party people made sure Trump got elected with their idealism Joe Stein votes? Trump is making life hell. Where the hell is Joe Stein helping us fight this? Just fucking vote for Tina, I beg you. They said, yeah, it's definitely a crowded field, but in reality, only a couple of candidates tend to have serious traction while the rest are long shots. A good way to narrow it down is to focus on who has actual experience, backing, and clear policy positions that line up with what you care about, instead of trying to evaluate everyone equally. Someone said Tristan Shepard. Someone else said I had trouble finding much info on many of them. Many of them did not even have a website or social media from what I could tell, and one who actually did have a website had a photo of Boston on their homepage. Oregon has so many great landmarks they could have added if you want to see for yourself, and they linked to Atkinson. It says Doodley for governor. It says please vote for Chris Doodley, he's going to stand tall for Oregon. It said here's some advice, don't vote Democrat. Said, guess I made the right choice switching my registration to GOP and voting for Doodley. Someone else says, Dudge pops his head out of Shaq's anal cavity screaming GOP every few years. It's best to just ignore him. So it's about who sticks out to you. At least find the one that appeals and makes yourself heard. But as always, the party will pick the contender. Someone else said Oregon doesn't have an actual progressive because none of the ones that ran mounted a serious campaign. It's mind-boggling organizations like Justice Dems, DSA, etc. can't mount a serious challenger. People like Fora Alexander, Jessica Salas, and Ziva Rosenbaum make Kotek seem decent. Notice what these people have in common. Israel is guilty of committing a genocide. Like, stop. Most people don't care enough to have that sway their vote. And someone replied, Israel is guilty of committing a genocide. Our dollars fund it. It's not talked about enough. No one should ever stop talking about it. And someone else responded, the same person said, I'm not saying they aren't. What I am saying is, when gas is over $5 and grocery prices are high, the war is not front of mind. People vote with their wallets more than anything. The war is why we have this, though. So, you're not. It's just. Anyway, it says, someone else said it isn't a state issue, though. State-level politicians are irrelevant for foreign policy. It is, for many, a litmus test. Someone else said, why would you vote for the same party that put us in this mess? We are ranked the worst in education in grades 1 through 6 and the second highest in welfare recipients. Yet our taxes are on the high end. That is not a success story. Please try something different. We need more balance in our officials. Someone else says, geez, the options for Democrats are slim pickings. You might as well just flip a coin dice and choose whatever the coin dice lands at. At least GOP options aren't too crazy outside of Drazen and that J6 guy. Someone else said I voted for Cal. Someone said write in Dan Rayfield. Said he's where he needs to be. He may be good for it someday, but the jobs are different. He's good at his. And I said, which is why I think his future is a U.S. senator, not Oregon governor. And I said, yeah, he'd be a good senator. Might be reversed. She goes for the Senate seat and he goes for the governorship. They said, yes, have her best to keep them out everywhere, possibly until things change. Okay, and that was the Reddit thread. Alrighty. So, what I think I am going to do now, whoopsie, wrong button. What I think I'm going to do now is, okay, oh, and someone had said they were sharing a map. They said they linked a map about some shit that Kotek did, and I said I was going to link that to you guys. Okay, it's down here, but you have to scroll down it to get there. So, yeah. So, I will link this up for y'all. But I'm going to go on a quick break, just recollect myself, recenter. When I get back, we will just review what I've published so far on Brittany Jones before I conclude tonight's live stream. So yeah, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. Be back at 2 Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. this has been a long one. It's definitely time to wrap this bitch up. So on that note, I wanted to go over just what I've covered so far in relation to Brittany Jones and everything. So this description is so long that I'm gonna have to delete I already did have to take out some words since I last read it all to you guys, and I did do that relatively recently, but I'm just going to kind of do it again because, well, there's a little bit more added. It's kind of changed slightly, but just to recap, I'm going to read this description to you guys, which is what I've covered so far on Brittany Jones. It's in order of date published, in terms of what the videos are numbered, and it's all my opinions based on what I've seen. And I do provide the evidence that I have for everything in my videos. So here is what I've covered so far. Number one, we've got 2025 squatting allegations. The Bill Deyo confirmed distant Potomac ancestry through GEDmatch Review 2023. Bill Deyo and Patawomeck Tribe discredited based on Brittany. Pocahontas disrespected. Bill harassed. Brittany's so-called fry bread nonprofit operation. Car giveaway raffle scam allegations. Eviction court hearing recordings. And Brittany's post about her supposed lineage claims since 2021. Number two, Brittany's political platform goals, website and policy, talking points to improve chances of winning, action items to improve community relationships, Indigenous representation, what could cause Brittany's downfall versus help her succeed. Number three, my thoughts as an individual who cannot speak for anyone else on why Patawomeck Tribe does not back Brittany. Social issues with Brittany using Patawamik identity in her political campaigns. I take issue with Brittany using missing and murdered Indigenous women, missing and murdered Indigenous people, missing and murdered Indigenous relatives for her campaigns, and speculations on why people don't like Brittany, why Patawomeck Tribe has more important shit going on that I believe Brittany is causing harm to related to federal recognition. Reddit thread on number four, Reddit thread on Brittany's text message campaign running for governor of Oregon. Brittany called out for false stalking order filed. Attempted rough recap of coverage. While I don't think Brittany is claimed by anyone else but Bill Deyo and Patawamik community as far as I know. Brittany's genealogy. No native ancestors documented. Item number five. 1 to 3 year PR plan and beyond for Brittany to actually earn genuine community support, plus why I don't think she has that now, or will get that if she continues on the path she is on. Number 6. Brittany acknowledges racist past, attempts to represent herself as a Native woman in public office, DNA tests as well as lack of lineage documented, applying concepts to Brittany Jones. Who is a descendant? What does that mean? What does it mean to be Indigenous? Community versus colonial recognition. Brittany's statements and interviews from Voices for Voices, KOIN, and Transplaining, as well as other posts. Brittany does not know how to say Patawamik right. Info and pronunciation of Patawamik. Number 8. Facebook messages and TikTok messages between me and Brittany. Brittany gaslights me about all her lies in the news. Brittany claims I didn't come to her about my videos when I did. Brittany claims my videos cause her harm. Brittany is a tribe hopper. Brittany claims she was not raised white. Brittany also claims her mother never said they were native. Brittany takes up space in media under the concept of being connected as Indigenous since a child, which is a lie. Brittany speaks for MMIW when she is not qualified to do so. Brittany claims being Native is a community she is a part of, that she was involved with Native community as a child, learning jingle dress dance, ceremony, etc. She was not involved with her Native community. Attending other tribes' events is not the same as being involved with your own community. Number 9. Addressing what makes Brittany Jones a fake versus a real Native. Is Brittany using proximity to other Native communities to claim raised Indigenous when other Indigenous people didn't raise her? Number 10. What I set out to do in my videos on Brittany Jones from what I knew then versus how coverage changed from what I know now. Why I think Brittany is seen as racist. Voices to Voices first podcast. Number 11. I think Brittany blames Hannah Shooting Bear for her actions. Reviewing statements Brittany made about political parties. OVC Town Hall. Number 12. Resources on assault, trafficking, and MMIW. Voices to Voices second podcast. Speaking of Brittany's documented European ancestry. Replay of replays. Number 13. Brittany tokenizes Native identities. Shit I have been saying about Brittany in people's comments. More posts on Brittany. Voices to Voices third podcast. I don't know if it's true or 4, whatever. Brittany dismisses entire point of MMIW while spreading racism and misinformation about MMIW. 14. Replay on Brittany saying human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug. MMIW exists because other communities have more awareness on and are less impacted by human trafficking than Indigenous people. Brittany is racist, misinformed, and speaking on issues she has no lived experience on. Number 15. Worst BJ moments, replay. 16. Brittany's sister seems to support her haters. Brittany builds platform off of Native trauma and Native identity fraud, fried bread exploitation, protest tourism, apartment given up, campaign donations not reported, accused of cheating in polls, accused of taking advantage in car rental agreement, Pocahontas and Bill disrespected, Native discrimination, interviews including KATU. I keep saying Kezi, but is it KEZI? I don't know. Will Fullwood. And that's what we've covered so far. And this is basically out of characters for this description. So I've been trying to figure out, like, should I put this somewhere else? What should I do with all of this right here to, you know, like, kind of give you guys, like, some sort of roadmap guideline up to the coverage, you know, so you can go see what video you want to watch, maybe. But we're on number 17 now, and so, I wonder why it's not, down here, but whatever. Maybe I pulled this up before I started it. I don't know. But yeah, like, so fucking, to me, it's like, so now we're still live. We're here. We're on number 17. Yeah, I have to figure out. I don't know what's gonna happen with all of this, where it's gonna go, what I'm gonna do with it. I haven't figured that out yet. So just so you guys know, some shit is gonna change with that. But yeah. So now I'm just gonna wrap up and bring us into more of a conclusionary space. So just to kind of recap on today, we did go through a lot. We totally went through a lot. Basically, I showed you guys where I was talking about Brittany, different spaces, mostly on this one person's page, and then I also emailed, I showed you guys the email I sent to Bill Deyo, to Chief of the Patawomeck Tribe, and to the Patawomeck Tribal Council. Oh, you know, one other thing I wanted to do, while we are here, okay, let's go to number 7, I think it was, yes. I showed you guys how to say Patawamik. Oh, my bad. That's my bad. I totally clicked the intro button. My bad, y'all. That's the wrong button. Whoopsie. Y'all got the beginning of that again. I was trying to pull up how to say Patawamik. So, let's see here. Yeah, we're just going to replay this one. When it comes to the Patawamik name, I'm about to go on break, but real quick before I do that, when it comes to the Patawamik name, the pronunciation right here is how it's pronounced.
Nestled upon the banks of the Rappahannock River, and we're very excited about the future of the Patawomeck tribe.
Okay, so y'all got that? Y'all need me to replay that last little? When it comes to the Patawamik name, I'm about to go on break, but real quick before I do that, when it comes to the Patawamik name, the pronunciation right here is how it's pronounced.
Nestled upon the banks of the Rappahannock River, and we're very excited about the future of the Patawomeck tribe.
Alright, Patawamik. How y'all say Patawamik? Just wanted to say that real quick. Alrighty. So, just back to my recap, I was just like, while I was in the middle of trying to attempt the recap, I totally remembered I wanted to replay. Like, I'm not making this shit up, you guys, when I tell you guys it's Patawamik. Anyway, so, basically, where I was at, though, I was bitching about Brittany, in spaces, you know, using my civilian right to actively air my voice about political candidates. And then she decides to not only comment on that post and delete it like a little bitch, but to also come into my DMs saying that my father taught me how to behave as a colonizer, basically, because I behave as my father taught me to. And she told me I was acting as a colonizer. So Brittany Jones, who has no Native ancestors documented, thinks that my father, who does have Native ancestors documented, teaches me to behave like a colonizer. That's wild to me because she's descendant of Nathaniel Bacon. So from there, I have some more notes on that real quick that I'm going to read to you guys, but let me just finish this little rough recap of this stream. After that, we had also, during that rather, we had gone over the email she showed me between her and Bill Deyo theoretically, but for whatever reason she decided to cover out Bill Deyo's email as if I don't know his email and wouldn't have already known it. But so, you know, I can't see that email that I would know if I saw it. But yeah, we looked at that email and we pulled up some search results related to the DNA discussed. And what we found was what was discussed of being Native American DNA, descendant of Pocahontas, the specific DNA shit that they discussed whenever I Googled it, like their research results was saying that none of that had anything to do with Native ancestry, that it actually had to do with microdeletion shit and genealogy related to genetic diseases, not ancestry, is what Google said. And I showed you guys my search results on that as well. So we went through that. We went over a Reddit thread I found, spent a lot of time on that, but I thought that was important because to me it just gives context to the general thought of a lot of the voters who are more willing to share that, because that way, like, you know, whenever we see an outcome, we might better understand why it could go one way or another based on how people have expressed how they feel. And so, but what I saw was, I think a lot of people are actually probably going to go for Tina. A lot of people don't like her, but I saw enough people say that they were going to go for her that I feel like that's what a lot of people are going to do. But maybe I'm wrong for thinking that. But yeah, so, and I mentioned that Brittany decided to DM me, right? And of course we went all over that. And we went over everything that she said and sent to me, triggered the fuck out of me. I might cover those messages again if I think of like something more productive to speak on related to all of that, but for now I can really only speak from a place of anger, so I'm trying to just kind of let it be what it is for now, because I don't know how much more productive I'll be with a conversation. But before I actually end this fucking bitch, I wrote down some notes. While I was reading the Reddit thread, I was like thinking of other shit I kind of wish I had said before, so I wrote down some notes related to that. So Brittany is saying that she is Indigenous through her mother. I'm saying I'm Indigenous through my father, and I want to discuss some differences between Brittany's mom and my dad. So her mother was raised white. Her mother's perceived as white. Her mother has no Native ancestors documented. My father, raised Native. My father, perceived Native. My father has Native ancestors documented. Just something to think about. Just something to think about, because, you know, that's why I call her racist as fuck for saying that the way I behave, which is how my father taught me to be, is colonizer. When she doesn't think that her lying about her connection to Patawomeck tribe is colonizer. Like, what? So. Man, some of that is hard to read. I'm going to read that last. Okay, so. She's also talking about how I attack Native women, but can't give any examples. And, you know, honestly though, and when I call her a rapist apologist related to that, when that be my first thought, it's because if you check the KB playlist or the Lagata Bwala playlist, that's what I could think about, because the only other people that I've really made videos like this, those are two people who I do believe they are Native women that I did make playlists on. The other person that's a woman that I made a playlist on in Native community, I do not believe is Native, and I can prove it, Tawana. But anyway, so, but with KB and Lagata Bwala, I can prove, and I have the evidence, check the playlist, that they were engaging in ways that support rapist apologist behavior and predatory behavior, and they were engaging in ways related to rape apology. So I don't know what the fuck else she could be referring to, because I haven't gone after people. I don't go after people. The most I think I could be perceived as that is these videos that I'm fucking telling you about. Like, I've done it, I've shown it, it's public for you to think of whatever you want to think, but I don't hide it. You know, so I don't know, like, I don't go after people. If I have a problem with you, I tell you about it, you know. The only other Native person, you know, besides that, that I've had issues with, she's still my fucking Facebook friend. We still talk every now and then. Like, and we fought about deaf issues. And she's not deaf. So, but anyway, so, yeah. And related to her, I feel that she lies even when it can be proven wrong, and that she takes no accountability. This is my opinion, based on my experience with her at this time. I literally asked Bill Chief and the Tribal Center for correction. And honestly, and I'll offer this to her too, like, I have offered, you know, if I could issue a correction on anything I'm wrong about. But I asked her to prove me wrong, and she said she didn't have to prove shit to me. So if you wanted me to issue a correction, why wouldn't you prove some shit to me, bitch? Anyway, because I'm just discussing what I can prove at this time. Yeah. And then, if she had made a mistake once, or like even like a couple of times, like in the heat of the moment, you know, because of how many interviews she's done at this point, if she's just like made some mistakes, like every now and then, or slipped up or whatever with some wording, or just didn't know better, like, and was like willing to be like, oh yeah, I could see how I came off that way, whoopsie, at least, you know, where she's at least willing to acknowledge what she did and stuff, like, and then try to do better, and issue corrections and shit, I wouldn't be so on her ass or hard about, oh, she's just fucking lying about this shit. Because we're all human. My mind brain farts all the time, and I slip up or say the words or wrong words, or speak from a place of anger or passion where what I say may not actually be the right thing to say, right? But it's the way she lies, gaslights, double down, and then misrepresents, and then wants to spew some racism to me whenever I call her out on, hey, that shit's not fucking cool, at least be fucking honest. So yeah, and I don't understand how she can act as if me for calling her out on the lies where I can prove it, all evidence shown, is harm. I literally made also a PR plan to help her. I've put in work to help her, but she doesn't want to talk about that shit now, does she? But that means nothing if she keeps lying, if she keeps building her campaign on lies, if she doesn't go do anything to correct the harm she's done with community, from taking people's funds, from lying about giving away the car but not doing that, but too late for that because she ain't even got a car, right? So what the fuck? But stuff like that, like, it's just, whew, I tried to help. The intent of this was to basically say, look, if Bill Deyo claims her, it's not my place to question Bill Deyo. Was the original point of my entire fucking videos. Take it back to the first 3 videos. See if you don't see that attitude, I can't help you. But when it's like I'm seeing the evidence for certain things she says and does, I can't deny that this is right in front of me, and it's gonna piss me off. And yeah, the tune changed from there, because it's like, even if that DNA analysis were true, it doesn't negate how you misrepresented and lied about your connection to the Patawomeck tribe, as I've already shown the evidence for. Check the replay. I'm going to add it in the timestamps in this video. I did a replay of times she said some shit in the news as if she had a native lived experience that I do not believe she has. And last but not least, if you can't prove how you are Indigenous, who your ancestors are, you please don't try to speak in official government capacities or in news outlets, in the media. For natives, it's one thing to speak in your own personal life about your own ancestry in your own personal life versus trying to represent Indigenous people when you do not have that lived experience. Because in your own personal life, when you're processing that and discussing that, that's how you can get corrected without it coming here. But you don't get to just go from 0 to public 100 and expect to be corrected only and privately or sweetly whenever you're literally spreading misinformation about MMIW and then lying about it. And then acting like you didn't just fucking do what you did when it's fucking recorded. It's one thing if you didn't fucking remember it, right? But to act, straight up act like, oh, I'm, like, bro, nah, yeah, no, like, I'm pissed. Like, so this bitch got me fucked up. I'm pissed as shit. This is not gonna be a productive conversation because this bitch got me fucked up. But yeah, if I process things to add on to this conversation that I feel are productive, I may do another live where, you know, I cover these topics specifically again. I'm sure it'll come up in the future because I'm me, but yeah, for now, I'm just gonna try and let it be where it's at, let it go. Or, you know, like this video is me letting it out of me, you know. But yeah, fucking, I feel that, I hope, you know, I don't know, I just feel in my soul something is very wrong with this Brittany Jones situation. In my soul, I feel something is wrong. And I really hope, you know, to that regard, that the Patawomeck Tribal Center, the chief, the tribe, Bill Deyo, etc., not etc., you know, everybody understands, because, you know, why, because etc. means and other things. Sometimes I'll be saying etc. when I really mean to say at all, but whatever, fuck it. At all means and others. Okay, sorry, life is hard. Fucking, like, it's, I hope they understand why I feel the way I feel. Even if people disagree with me or how I handle things, I hope they at least understand where I'm coming from. So yeah, and I've offered to issue corrections, and I offered to the tribal center and to the chief and to Bill Deyo to issue corrections and or take down or redo anything. So yeah. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really gonna end this bitch now. I hope y'all have a great night and everything works out for everybody. And yeah. Let's think about accountability and what the fuck does that mean to us. And also, if you know what, I'm back on the I'm back on getting riled up about it and pissed about it again. But then I'm just spiraling on the same fucking shit I've already been bitching about, because I'm just like so angry at the way she keeps acting like she didn't say or do the things that she says and do. Jules says right. Thank you, Jules. It's the way she was acting like she didn't say that statement about MMIW outside, like, you know what I'm saying, with the human trafficking thing. She said human trafficking outside of MMIW has been swept under the rug, is what she said in the podcast. And then she basically tried to act like she didn't say that to me, and I have the recording of it. You know what I mean? It's, didn't she keep saying that she clarified that she never said that she was raised indigenous, that she clarified that in the news, but I played to you guys the news clips where she said she had an indigenous childhood, that she was raised jingle dress dancing, and then she was answering questions as a mixed indigenous woman, and then she was saying, answering questions, why allies need to leave us natives alone and let us speak for ourselves. But she wasn't saying, hey, I have far distant ancestry, no cultural community connection, I just got a GEDmatch DNA confirmed, I've only talked to the tribal historian. Me, I've only talked to a tribal historian, but I did not do no goddamn GEDmatch DNA analysis. I know who the fuck my father is, and I got fucking family search verified. And honestly, I mean, I've been talking to other people, like, or made LinkedIn connections or TikTok connections with other people in the Powhatan community, or Facebook connections around. I think Instagram too, and Snapchat. So, but anyway, fucking, you know, I've connected socially a little bit online with some Powhatan community members, but I don't think it would be appropriate for me to be like, oh, connected, you know. And I think, you know, I don't know, I think, 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 I don't know, I when I've been angry about how this impacts me because of the trauma I have from shit that has gone down with my dad, you know, that's where I go to my community because I'm so like, I'm a fucking daddy's girl, so it's like, for me, it's, I don't know how to explain it, you know, it's just like when someone comes after my dad, or if I'm perceiving this as something that's coming after anything related to my dad, it's something that I'm gonna be like, let me come at you, bitch, because hold the fuck on. And that's just me, you know? Yeah. And for her to sit there and say that I behave as a colonizer, when the way I behave comes from my father, and he has Native ancestors documented, but she does not, and she's trying to speak over that, is just beyond fucked for me. She doesn't know how to even be an ally. But yeah. And if she had just said, oh, I misspoke on the MMIW thing, I had a brain fart, that's really embarrassing, I would tell her that's such a big deal. She needs to go get a correction done because it's still fucked up that it's published, and the longer it's out there, that's fucked up. But I wouldn't think that she would be intentionally necessarily trying to, like, it's like, I don't know, like, there are things where I could, like, it's like, even where I want to give her grace, it's the way she still keeps doubling down and is comfortable with Bill Deyo being attacked, comfortable with them mocking federal recognition. She doesn't want none of that addressed, but she doesn't want me to, because she doesn't want me to address the criticisms about her campaign either. And the only reason those things came out was because people were criticizing her for taking people's money without giving away that truck, and criticizing her for what she did to the gingerbread village, and with the car rental too recently now. You know, I don't know. It's like, she and I have very different ideas about these things. She seems to think that a GEDmatch DNA review and talking to the tribal historian gives you lived experience of being Native your whole fucking life, or some shit. That's how she acts, in my opinion. I shouldn't say that word for word. I'm just, what's the word? Yeah, but I'm just like basically putting words in for how I feel she acts, you know? Yeah, but it's like the way she acts to me. And my brain is just so tired. I've had a day. I can't think. I'm gonna stop trying to do anything here because I said I was gonna do that a minute ago, but then I got angry again. But I think I've calmed down again for now. So while I'm feeling rather docile, theoretically, I'm gonna go ahead and end this thing. I hope you guys have a good night. Get some sleep. I appreciate you. And yeah, bye. Thanks for watching.